So I think it has to get
Should have tried to hit that before I said.
to a judge to do that, but good. Glad you're here. Don't want that to disrupt us. All right. Want to welcome you to our July 22nd City Council meeting. Appreciate everyone coming and partaking in the city government. The first item of business would be, we'll turn it over to Council Member David Fowles for pledge and or prayer and pledge or thought.
I'll offer a prayer. Father in heaven, we thank thee for the blessings we enjoy, the blessings of this wonderful community which we have to live in. We are grateful for the founders of the city, those pioneers and settlers who gave so much and have continue to be a good foundation, a great foundation. For the residents, we're grateful for their many posterity who continue to form a great group of residents here. And we're grateful for those who are here in attendance this evening. We pray as we meet and as we consult and converse as a city council that we can remember those who are here and those who are not here and those whom we represent today and will for decades to come as we consider the business of Hyde Park City. We are grateful for those who serve on our city staff. We are grateful for our law enforcement, for our fire protection, for these good men and women who serve so selflessly our community. We are grateful for the many volunteers in our community. We are grateful for our good mayor, Mayor Cox. We pray a blessing on him with his health concerns. We're grateful for his good wife, Jana, and her support of him and their family and our community. And pray now again that thou would be with us this evening, that we can be good listeners, that we can consider well and wisely those things that matter to the future of our community. We pray in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Would you please follow me in pledge of allegiance to the flag that represents our great nation? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. Appreciate the thoughts and prayers. I would say I'm going to throw a thought in here that I once heard a speech by Brent's wife, Jana. What was Brent's wife from North Ogden? Mayor of North Ogden, his wife.
No.
North Ogden, different city. Taylor. Brent Taylor's wife, and I can't remember her first name. What is it? She spoke once about elected people doing their jobs, and a lot of times we're here with one or two people in the room. And we shouldn't take that as anybody not caring or people being ambivalent to what's going on in the city. They have you in the city council to make good and informed decisions. Not necessarily everyone's going to agree with that, but they put you in here for that responsibility. And I hope that that can always be remembered, even if you have a meeting just by yourselves. It's for the good and the betterment of the community. The next item is acceptance of the minutes from July 8th. Kurt, do you have any comments?
Nope.
Carol?
No comments.
Tiffany?
None for me.
Stephanie?
I sent mine in.
And no comments.
And were her comments represented in what's current? Do you know?
Were they updated?
Yeah.
Let me hurry and look.
Does it change the context?
No,
Just, okay.
This is spelling of my name.
but, Gerald, your name is spelled wrong.
Carol.
I'm used to
amongst
that,
everything.
so that's okay.
Mine was in one instance too, but we know who we're talking about, so I'm okay with that.
You're now Gerlod.
I've had worse.
He seems to be called worse. All right. Having no other comments, as much as we spell Gerlog correctly, I'd look for a motion to approve the minutes from July 8th.
I'll motion we approve the minutes.
We got a motion from Tiffany. Is there a second from Stephanie? Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with nay? Motion carries 5-0. The next item is to approve the agenda that we have before us right now. I have nothing to change on myself. If we have no other changes, I would look for a motion. Got a motion from Kurt. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Gerald. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with nay? Motion carries 5-0. It's now time that we open it up for resident input. And we ask that you, on any item that is not currently on the agenda, we'd ask that you keep it to 3 minutes and recognize that the council, we may not be able to answer, but if we have taskings, we will get back to you. So we will open that up at this time for resident input. Having none, we'll close the resident input and we'll move on to Chief. Let's move on to you first.
Okay. Thank you, council. What I'm reporting on tonight is the week of July 12th through July 18th of 2026. So I tried to do one report, one weekly report, and then a monthly recap. This week, we had 145 calls that the department handled, and out of that, 40 of those were in Hyde Park, or centered right around Hyde Park. Of the 40, 21 were priority calls, so just over 52% were priority type calls. And as you look at that green column, for Hyde Park, we had a busy week. In the first week of July, the last city council, we had 18 for Hyde Park that week. And like I said, jump from 18 to 40 is a big increase for us. And you can see those calls there. June was an interesting month. We had a lot of medicals, and we're starting to see that same type of thing happen for July. In the falls for this week, we had 2 falls and then 1 unconscious that we handled and dealt with. We also had the sex lewdness and the suicide threat and a domestic and the vehicle fire. So there's a lot of things that were happening in Hyde Park this last week. For traffic stops, I have one of my officers who normally writes a lot of traffic stops. We've had him training this last week, and so our stops have gone down. We were at 50 this week. You can see out of that 14 citations and 36 warnings, and then the breakdown. 2 of the citations were in Hyde Park, and 6 of the warnings were in Hyde Park as well with that. So it kind of gives an overall, we're busy with everything. We're training a new guy. And for department update, we have lost 1 to the county. His last day is Friday, and he's headed over on that. So we're back to trying to.
So this week, are we fully staffed?
This week, we are fully staffed. The end of Friday, no. But we're down to one.
I think we won't be.
It was short-lived.
Yeah,
Yep. So we're trying, it makes it difficult with just the way things are. And between agencies, every agency in the valley is struggling to keep people on that. And so it's a battle that we're going to continue to have. And we try to do what we can to improve things and keep people coming here. But that's where we're at as far as the calls for this week on that. And happy to answer questions if you have any.
any questions, comments for the chief?
Okay.
Did we get our traps in or we just got one still?
We have the one, but it is assembled and working properly on that. So we're ready to put it into place. And I talked to Mr. Ashcroft there.
Yeah.
He's out of town this week, but he'll be back in a couple days here, and we'll have that up on his property August 1.
I spoke to him Saturday and told him that you would be there.
Yep.
With the traps, and we're gonna try and relieve some of the pressure that he feels.
Yep. So it is here. The other two, we're being told will be here by the end of July.
Okay,
So we'll have those.
good. Any questions, anything else? Thank you, chief.
Welcome.
Appreciate all you're doing. And recognize the challenge of staffing. That's always been a challenge for us. Marcus,
I just have two things quickly. The city council requested a couple of draft site plans to take a look at Legacy Park and see if we were to do something with that back portion that currently has the bike track, what could fit there. There's a couple of examples that I've put in box. I won't spend the time to go through them. Essentially, the short version is we have room for more parking and potentially more facilities for outdoor sports, soccer fields or lacrosse or whatever sports you want. So take a look at that. I realize we're going to be talking about a master plan here pretty soon, so I don't expect any action, but it's just an example to see what could be done back there. The second item is the Logan River Watershed Project, more commonly known around here as the project to pipe the Hyde Park Canal. They recently had a rather tumultuous public comment period, and there's several cities who've reached out to the group and requested information sessions or presentations to city council. I reached out to see if we could get a presentation with our city council to just talk about the project. It was one that the city entered into under Mayor Flint many years ago. And so I reached out to see if they'd be willing to come give a presentation at our city council meeting to talk about the project, what's happening with it, where we go next. And so I wanted to ask the council, is that something you're interested in having done here? Or would you like to set up a work group with just a couple of council members and the mayor? Or is this something we're not worried about? How would you like me to respond to JUB?
And is this the lower, what we refer to in town as the lower canal?
yeah,
Yeah, so they're looking at piping it up to, I'm gonna say a road name and it's gonna be wrong. It's not quite getting up to Hyde Park City. So they're gonna be piping it, at least this is the last version we heard. Maybe it's changed, I don't know. But they were looking at piping the majority of that canal to make it pressurized, just like the middle canal that runs here close by.
well, since it may be after me, I will tell you that this legacy project has been going on since Mayor Flint. There's not a single pipe, a single anything built except PowerPoint. They're working supposedly on some funding. This is one of those, like I call it, a legacy project. Concerns that I would have for you to raise up is the cost assessment. This project includes things, trails for Logan City, all sorts of different amenities for Logan City, but it has water shareholders and potentially implementing a cost across the entire city, you got to figure out how they're trying to do this and how they want you to assess for the amenities that they're giving. So I'm, this is why Marcus and I said we didn't wave a white flag, we raised an attack flag, that this is not something that is conducive to the residents of Hyde Park, because why should residents be paying for amenities elsewhere?
Essentially,
So-
the project's risen to the level of 300 some odd $1 million. They're looking at having extra assessments for people who own shares in the canal, as well as having taxes raised to pay for a portion of the project. Sorry about that. And so, yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for us to have them present to the city council and maybe send out a message to our residents to come and hear more about it. But I just wanted to know if that's a priority for you.
I think you should-
And if so, when would you like me to see if we can get it scheduled?
I think it's a priority. Did you say the piping would even come into Hyde Park?
That was the plan a year ago when I was attending the meetings regularly. I have not attended.
The rest of the pipe would be
regularly.
phased in going through Hyde Park, but as what I understand, not the
I
payment.
know it wouldn't be throughout Hyde Park. They were going to stop either just before or just after they got to our city limits on 3100 North. But
Thought it
do
was
not
somewhere
remember.
around Airport Road right now,
Yeah.
but tentatively, all of it would be piped.
So would the council like me to reach out to schedule the presentation here at a public meeting?
I think it should be here.
I'd be in favor of that. I mean, this is news to me and, you know, I suspect many residents, and if it's gonna impact us,
I
then
think that
I'd like all of us to know about it.
the
Okay.
12th is filling up in August. The next one is a truth and taxation, which
We
No
will have a
bueno
business
on
meeting on the
anything else.
25th, which they could potentially present at, or we could look at, really, there's not a rush at this point.
yeah,
The
it's not like
ability
you're
for
gonna put
us
a pipe in the
to,
ground.
like receive meaningful comment that will be submitted with the project is over, but there is still a window for the city to be able to do something. So yeah, I'll see if we can get something scheduled for either the 25th of August, or we will look at the first meeting in September.
I could do it on one of our regular Wednesday night meetings, just because the public, that's when they're used to us meeting. Isn't the 25th like a Tuesday?
It's a Tuesday because our regular meeting will be the
With, yes,
truth and taxation
we do it
hearing.
after that, just so
First one in
it
September,
doesn't,
First in
yeah, so
September.
people don't miss it because we're holding it.
different night.
Oh, after school's over, yeah. After it starts, after summer's over is what I meant to
Which
say.
would also make September a good time to do it. All
September.
right, I will see
I
if we
think
can get it
September.
scheduled for the first meeting in September.
First meeting in September.
Yeah.
League, I would say, is coming up, and
October.
but that's probably first week October, so. Anything else, Marcus?
That's all that I had.
Marcus, where did you put the plans for the park? Where can I find
I
those?
thought I put them in the box under staff reports in that folder.
Really, what that shows us is the size and area, the scale of what we could, if you want a
Yeah.
full-size soccer field, of course,
Yeah.
it has it going east-west, which you'd never build an east-west field.
Yeah, I didn't say they were
It's not
good
a
site
good
plans.
site
I just said that was an example. But yeah, here's what it potentially could look like. Yeah, there's room to do a lot of things back there. We just need, we probably need to get this master plan kicked off and do some surveying of our residents to find out what people want. And then we can make a more detailed, comprehensive plan for that area. So there you
Yeah.
go. Food for thought.
How,
Go ahead.
how many total parking places would there be with this?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't count them. I think what we asked them is, could we double the amount of parking? So whatever parking we have now, this is showing doubling that number of spaces.
Oh, gotcha.
Any questions, comments for Marcus? All right, we'll move on to my report. I will tell you, I was surprised with the article today in the paper because it was not supposed to be released till tomorrow. But they said that you as a council met on Tuesday, so I'm disappointed. But it was supposed to be our meeting tonight and released tomorrow, but as many have known, I've been battling with some health issues and feel it necessary. I've written a letter. It's in your inbox. Writing this letter with immense gratitude, full of heart, with a full heart, as I reflect on the 17 years of service, I've been blessed to serve in our community. I recognize Hyde Park City is a place where I'm thrilled to live with my family. Serving as mayor has been one of the greatest honors of my life. And I'm deeply grateful for the trust, support, and kindness that you, not only council, but the residents have shown me all these years. We face challenges, and I'll paraphrase some of these things. We face challenges and celebrated milestones fostered in our community. We've received quite a bit of funds in grants for our community to help prepare us for the future. So it's difficult news that due to health conditions that are beyond my control, and they've been more aggressive, making day-to-day tasks more difficult. It hasn't been kind to me. Due to that, I'll be stepping down as mayor. I think it'll be effective on the 12th of August because this letter going to you and being released, since the newspaper's already done my big reveal. So the city by state code has a requirement to notice it and people can apply. And then on the 12th of August, councils will be reviewing those applications and interview the people that have submitted. Obviously, if any council member submits, they can't be part of the review process. And then the council would vote. Fully intended on wanting to serve the totality of my term. But the last 8 months have been really difficult for my health. And so spent time, don't look at me, Jana. Spent time with my wife discussing what's best for my health, family, and what I expect out of me for the city. It's time for me to step back and focus on the things that are most important as family. I know that council, you'll do a wonderful job. You have, and you'll continue to do that. In any way I could help, I would do that. It just, as people can tell, my speech, it affects my speech. So it makes even this difficult. I have to hold my job so I can speak. But thank you, council, for all the work you do, all the support you've given me, and the residents, thank you for everything you've done. That's all I have. So let's move on. Think they're applauding because we're moving on. Thank you. The next item of business is consider the safe routes to school for Old Ephraim Middle School. We have somebody from the school district, I believe, here. There's. Welcome, and this was loaded up into the box.
Okay, great. Thank you. My name's Amy McNeil, and I am the principal of Old Ephraim, and it actually is the elementary school. So up on 400 East, 300 North in that area. And I would like to recognize, we have Derek Beer here tonight, who is our,
Who is it?
his name's Derek Beer. He is
Okay.
our Director of Elementary Education. And then we also have Stephanie Adams, who is our Director of Student Services. So they are in attendance as well. And before I move on, Mayor, I would just like to say that I wish you the best in everything moving forward. And I'm sorry I've not been able to work with you up to this point, but I do hope that,
That would mean I'd have little kids in the school.
okay. No.
I have grandkids out
You have
here. that
grandkids.
be in it.
Okay, all right. Well,
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
And you're gonna be the principal at the new school?
Yes, I am.
Yeah,
Mhm.
nothing but glowing remarks, so thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very excited. I'm excited to be a part of the Hyde Park community and get to know everyone a little bit better in the area. And I have had the opportunity to get to know Hyde Park a little bit better over the last 8 months. We have been meeting as a steering committee, and I would like to thank those who have been part of that steering committee to talk about our safe routes. And Dave Fowles and Tiffany Atkinson have been part of that, as well as Chief Goodrich. He attended as well, along with members of our community, parents of children who will be attending Old Ephraim. And so I wanted to present to you what we talked about as a steering committee, and as a committee decided what would be best for students in this community getting to school and back home safely. So this first slide is just an outline, kind of a zoomed out view of our school boundaries and transportation. So if you notice the red outline, that is the school boundaries for Old Ephraim Elementary. In the green zone is where transportation is not provided. So anything without outside of that green zone is busing will be available to those students. The dots that are on the map are families, students within the school boundaries that would be potentially attending Old Ephraim Elementary. And so you can see where we have different clusters of homes and how the transportation might impact more on the east side of the community. But if you'll go to the next slide for me. This is the same map, but it outlines what our safe routes would look like, what we have proposed as a committee and have approved as a committee. And so as a safe route plan, our job as a new school is to determine what is the safest route to get to school for students that would be walking. But that doesn't mean that we need to choose every street that would be best for every neighborhood. And so we come with a generalized plan that can work for all areas. And then it's up to parents' discretion of how they are going to utilize those routes. So this is the plan that we have chosen. If you notice, we have that route coming from the East Bench on 450 North. Using 450 North as a safe route. That is the south entrance to the school. Then on the other side, you have starting further south, coming down south from the neighborhood and then going along 400 East. The idea as a committee is we wanted to avoid that main street at 400 East as much as possible. We didn't want to have the all of 400 East be a walking route for students. We wanted to minimize it. And you'll notice that that is one of our first proposed crosswalks there is on 400 East. And I believe, let's see, I have it outlined on my other slide. But what happens there is up to that crosswalk, the sidewalk is on the east side of the street. But then to get to the school, they need to cross, and there is not a sidewalk on that side of the street. For a safe route, on a busy street such as 400 East, we felt like would be necessary for students to have the sidewalk to be able to walk on. And so that is the justification for having a crosswalk there to get them to towards the school. If you follow that line, continue west and north, we have our another proposed crosswalk. This will actually be our busiest area because this is the south entrance of the school, and this will be our drop off and pickup. And we do have a loop within the parking lot. Once you get onto the school property, there's a loop through the parking lot, and then you exit. So you enter and exit the same area going to the school. So it's going to be a very busy street during pickup and drop off times.
So I take it the safe routes have verified all of the signage that you have noted in here?
Yes, we have gone through and checked all the signage that are on the street. So everything that you see on there is existing except the 3 new proposed crosswalks. But everything that's there is existing.
We'll see them on the next one.
You
Yeah.
explain again where that first crosswalk is, the address.
Yes, if you could go
It's
down a
One
couple.
180 north.
Is it 180
East.
north? If you go down a couple of.
That's the one here.
400 East.
Thank you. My presentation all ready for me.
Is it the what?
Which one are you
Yeah.
asking?
Okay, it's
The one on 400 East.
400 East, it's 180 north.
180.
It crosses there and then it goes down into that subdivision.
That, that's
Why,
Turns and
across
turns
from the
north.
Alton Brown where it comes to.
just ask, why didn't you use 300 North where it has an existing sidewalk?
300 north.
Yes.
To go,
300 North
To
has a
go-
sidewalk on both sides.
but
To
is there a
fix the-
sidewalk in front of Budge Hill? That's what they would
On
have
the
to,
east side.
on the east side?
Yes.
300 north as on both sides, but only for a very short portion coming off of 400 east.
Well, if they were walking on the east side of 400 East, cross on 300 North, on either side, there's a sidewalk.
I think, go ahead.
I
Amy.
think that the reason why we decided to do it the street more south is because if the 300 north, excuse me, I'm getting my north and south mixed up. 300 north and 400 east is an extremely, I'm just gonna say scary corner. It's difficult to see. That corner right there, we have those trees, even as driving that street, trying to turn onto 400
that's
East or turn
true.
left on 400 East, there's hardly any visibility.
Yes. they
It's
have
very
to be
difficult.
trimmed.
And so as a committee, we decided that just would not be the safest route for students, was to use that. And then as we talk about it a little bit more, you'll also see that as far as coming and going through the school, the traffic pattern, we have proposed that we close a portion of 300 north to make the traffic flow better for the surrounding streets and for the school itself.
So,
And I can explain that too.
yeah, there's sidewalk. You're saying that the house that's on 300 North and 4th East, because of the shrubs or bushes, that there's a challenge there, and we have a code that they need to be compliant with, and that can be remedied. I would say closing the street, who's going to close that? Who's going to put the closed signs up? Who's going to take them down? Who's going to make sure?
That would be actually the responsibility of, I feel like, working in partnership. Just so with Chief Goodrich, so that we're aware, but the school that we will be putting signage up. And I can explain it a little bit more if you go to the next slide with, and
Mr.
maybe
Close
go
your
to
time.
the next one where it zooms in a little bit more. So this is the traffic flow that we would anticipate with this. And if you notice as a committee, we felt like the least amount of traffic we can have on 400 East, the better, because we know that that is a main traffic road for a lot of residents. And so we didn't want to put undue stress on 400 East. If we don't close 300 North on that short section between 330 East, about 330 East and 400, 400 East. If we don't close that section, what we're going to find is we're going to have traffic going on 400 East, coming from the bench, going on 400 East, turning on 300 North, and we're going to have traffic trying to go like this into the one entrance for drop off and pickup. So to be able to have the traffic flow be more smooth for traffic to go into the school, it would be what we have proposing with this plan is that as instead of going onto 300 North on the east side, we're going to go around the block and have one entrance turning left into the school. And as you come out of that circle, you is only a right-hand turn. So that way we have cars flowing in quickly. And if we have 300 North open, that could potentially and very likely cause a backup on 400 East, which would stop traffic flow on 400 East. So that was the main reason for a proposed closure for 300 North, just during the drop off and pickups times.
Can I ask you, how do you propose closing a city road that all our residents have used? How are you going to close that twice a day?
She just
It
said,
would be
I
managed
think
by
the
the,
police are going to.
Oh,
yeah, it would.
If I could talk, I guess, real quick for just a second on that. I understand what Principal McNeil is talking about as far as trying to bring everybody in at the same time. I guess the reality of what we face or the challenge we face is trying to have the police do that. Sometimes I've got one guy on, sometimes more, and we're able to help with that. And so I think it kind of comes back to the partnership that you're talking about of, do we have, some of the schools have had rotation assignments with the teachers being out in the school or in the parking lot as the buses are coming in. You know, is that something that could help with that? Traffic already in this area on 4th East is difficult on there. And so trying to add drop-offs and pickups and things like that is going to be extremely challenging, I think, with that.
Thank you.
That's a challenge, I think. If we could figure out if we're going to close that or the city allows that to be closed there, it's going to have to be a partnership with the school.
Absolutely. No, we would work together on that. And again, we're not closing it for the day. It's select times of the day. So 8:30 to 9:05 and then 3:30 to 3:50. Really, we should be able to have, with this type of traffic flow that we're presenting, we should be able to have drop off and pickup completed. Well, not drop off, pickup completed within 20 minutes, which is quite good for a school. Without that closure, it can look very different. I worry about frustration with parents being able to get in and to get out. It would take much longer for our pickup, for parents to pick up their students. If we have people able to enter the south entrance from the east and the west at the same time. Also anticipating on, I'm still learning my streets here, so that's 400 East. What is that street labeled just one block west?
That's, I think,
The crosswalk, where the crosswalk is.
that's, I
right
think,
there.
330 East.
Another thing that potentially might happen is if we have traffic coming off 400 East and then turning on that 180 North and going through that neighborhood to try and take a quick right into the line of traffic and then take a quick left into the school entrance, that might cause a backup as well. So that was another area of concern. So, and another reason to try and close that area, that small area, to help with traffic flow. Along with that, we will need crossing right there as well with the amount of traffic and students walking to school. That is another proposed crosswalk to have a crossing guard for traffic for student safety.
So Chief, what happens when you have your policeman there before or after school and you have an emergency?
What happens when we have what? I'm sorry, I didn't.
What happens if you have an emergency and you need those officers or that officer?
Well, that becomes a challenge on that. Like I said, our officers aren't included in the crossing guards, so they're not going to be there for that. Obviously, we're going to be trying to help, especially with the new school and the new traffic patterns. However, it does, like I said, we respond as the calls are happening. So if we have priority type calls, it's left to the crossing guards or the teachers that are there to help in that moment.
If I could speak to that a little bit, I worked at Providence Elementary as a teacher, and they had something similar to this, but they actually blocked off the whole street, Center Street, right in front of the school. And we did not have officers there on site every day, but signs were put up on each entrance of that block that the road was closed during that time. And so I think a lot of it is getting the word out, community education, letting people know this is what it looks like, and being able to reinforce that at times. I would never expect to have officers there every single day to man that. That would be something that we've done more with signs and public education.
So I'm curious, what does it take to approve the safe routes? Is that something the school district or the board approves? Who?
So it is the steering committee within the school. And so that's what we've been doing over the last 8 months,
So-
is developing it and improving it.
But that steering committee and no single council member has the authority to expend city funds. So if we're gonna need officers there, I could just see how this can cascade. Well, the chief's gonna end up, this is the same time that the Green Canyon 400 goes on. Everybody rushing to school, and so we need to have additional police presence or more overlapping, which increases the police budget. So now North Logan also gets an increase in that. Hyde Park residents get an increase in that. So we're making something that should be figured out with, granted, the steering committee, but a traffic study that as a city, we haven't seen that yet for the school. We're wanting to encumber the residents of both North Logan and Hyde Park because we have the police budget to be able to staff and do this work for the school, making that problem our problem, which I don't know that it is. Right? It is our children and we want to keep them safe, but we want we know that you're only going to get a lot more students from the East Bench. This is the English school, correct? And the
Yes. Mhm.
multi-language is going to be Cedar Ridge. And it's only opening up at, if I'm right, something like 67% capacity or something like that I was told. It will be able to be grown into.
Yes, there will be room for growth.
So it's whatever the challenge is, it's going to be increased over
Mayor.
time because
I
we have kids.
Mayor, there's still a few more slides. Perhaps we could
Yeah,
let Principal
just-
McNeil finish the presentation and then we could dive into some things. I know as a city staff, we have a couple of questions we'd like to go through as well. So maybe we can get the presentation done first.
Yeah, we have 2 more slides to where we have the recommendations, well, actually 3. So this gives more detailed numbers of about where students are at in the community. Those dots that I spoke of earlier of residences with students that would be potentially coming to the school, this is where these numbers come from. And so about 122 students north of Center Street and west of 700 East. So that pocket before you start going up the East Bench. And then we have 24 that are south of Center Street, as a committee, we had long discussions about Center Street as well, because that was a concern, getting students to school safely. Again, these are students that are not in the boundaries where transportation would be provided. Then east of 700 East, we have about 118 students that do not have available transportation. And so the probability is very high that we will have parents be dropping off their students. So that adds to the drop off and pickup traffic. Then with students within the busing boundaries, we have 54 south of Center Street. And then we have 19 that are east of 700. So within the red boundary line, but not in the green zone. We have a small pocket of students that would be bused there. So if we go to the next slide, these are the recommendations that from our steering committee that we agreed on as a committee, that we were proposing 3 crossing guard locations, and we talked about the 2, one at the 180 North and 400 East, and as well as that 300 North and 330 East, which is the south entrance of the school. The 450 North, 400 East, that's where the 4-way stop is now. And we anticipate we'll be having students coming down some students coming down 450 North and crossing 400 East, and would need assistance crossing that busy road. Another recommendation, and again, this is something that I will show on the next slide as well, improved sidewalk to go with our safe routes proposal, is we have between 300 North and 200 East. Let's see, 200 East, 330 East. Okay, I don't have, if you're looking at the map, it's a little bit easier to see these side by side. But where our safe routes come, it comes in on the 250, sorry. What was that, Dave? What was that street?
We're on 300 North, and we're the safe route on 200 East
200 East.
goes north to 300.
Yes. So between that 200 East and to the entrance of the school, there is a short part of sidewalk, not much, but at some point in the future, we would like to see improved sidewalk there, just because that 300 North is going to be such a busy street with drop off and pickup that it would be safer for students. Now, improving sidewalks, this is something that we can do over time, but as a safe route plan, as a committee, we have chosen what we feel like is the safest for students as things are right now, but we can always work towards making it better where we can. So if we go back to the recommendations, and then I did put on there the road closure that we have discussed. If you go to the next slide. Oh, do you have a question?
Quite a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Number one, how many students, not how many, just roughly what percentage of students are gonna be bused to school?
Small, well, 73 students as of right now,
I was told like 2 buses
2 buses.
to start with.
Next question,
And-
we have 2 buses is all we have going in there?
Yes, and
Will that
overall.
increase over time?
Likely, if they're outside the zone.
Being outside the zone, yeah, that's something we, as a district, we work with our transportation department.
That zone is based on the mileage distance from the school, and as Hyde Park grows
Right.
and they build outside that zone, then that will require buses. If they're inside that zone,
Mhm. Yeah,
they
yes.
require foot leg, which means parents will drive them.
My experience with elementary, even though some can walk, parents take them,
Yes,
or they have their parents take them. I'm not sure which is the right way to say that.
probably a little bit of
Previous
both.
principal here.
What? I built a high school or helped with a high school. And we knew all this before we dug ground. I don't understand why this wasn't mapped out before. I have a hard time approving closing a street as a city. I don't think I have that right. And I just know how schools are and how people will bring their kids and wait, where are they gonna park? I mean, I live up there and I'm not sure there's very much parking for parents to drop off or wait for.
Right, and especially during the winter.
Yeah. So
I mean, I wonder if the school district could mitigate some of this by closing in your busing and bus more students instead of counting on so many walking.
The buses will come in from the north side, correct? North side of the
Yes.
school off of,
Yes, the north.
450.
Mhm.
okay.
Yep.
So
that
they're-
north entrance
No
will
parents,
be-
no parents will be coming in.
no,
No, no.
the only kids that walk,
Walking students.
walking students,
You were
yeah.
probably going to get, yes, those
Yeah.
on the 450 east, that part of the walking route takes that into consideration. The students needing to go to the north entrance.
And Tiffany and I spent some months working with Amy and the steering committee on this, and this is the result. I would tell you, it wasn't a consensus. I had many parents, and we discussed this, and probably not always fully in that committee, but the parents that would say, well, I live up there on whatever east, and I'm going to cross 450 north. And I'm not going to get in that line and drive all the way around the block and drive all the way around the block and go all the way down the loop in the school. I'm going to drop my student off on 450 north,
Mhm.
and they're going to walk in on that north entrance. And I'm just going to go around the block to the north of Smithfield and go that way. They're not even going to get in that big long line. So, I think this is going to look a lot worse than what the map. I just heard hearing that from parents. It's like, I'm not going to sit in that line and go all the way around those blocks. I'm just going to drop my kid off across the street.
Well, and as a school, I'm going to say, I can't force anyone to do anything. We have a proposed safe route plan that we felt as a committee that was the safest for students. So we want to do what's best for kids in this environment and what that might look like for them. We want them to be as safe as possible. So that is why we have come up with this plan and gone to all this work to determine what possibly could be the very best option for them. Thank you for going to the next slide. With that, it will highly impact some of those streets. So the 450 north, the 100 east, and 300 north, that will be highly impacted. Once again, with the layout of our school, we wanted to try and keep as much traffic off 400 east as possible because we didn't want that to be another highly impacted street. We also, another thing to look at is on that 300 north, 330 east. Parents, if they come through there and try to do like a 2-car length right turn and then a left turn into the south entrance, that's something to consider. Any signage and pavement markings that will be needed. And then again, on the sidewalks, safe walk routes don't require immediate sidewalks. The goal is to have steady incremental safety improvements over time. Paved paths can be an option at some point. And the goal is to funnel all walking students into a single designated area so that drivers are more aware of where students are and they will be more safe because of that. So with all of that said, I know you have a lot of questions. And
Yeah,
yes.
and then whether or not you can answer, I think
Right.
it best that we get Marcus some questions. Unfortunately for this whole thing, what school starts in a month?
Mhm.
Yeah,
And you're just coming now, this.
yeah, so,
I did actually send this out to the city council in
Yeah.
March
yeah, we got this and
and again in April with no.
there's what we don't want to create is what we have in front of Cedar Ridge. I don't know if you've been there at school drop off and pick up.
I actually did work at Cedar Ridge for
Oh,
1 year.
yeah, that's a delight for everyone down there.
Mhm.
And we don't want to create that.
So Mayor, the city staff has a couple of questions we'd like to maybe hand back and hopefully get some answers on. One is, was this reviewed by a transportation engineer, or does it need a transportation engineer sign off? It sounds like the answer is it doesn't need that. But I know our public works director was looking for some kind of endorsement from a transportation engineer. So we'd like you to consider perhaps doing that and providing that for us, if that's possible. Or maybe the traffic study that's already been done for the school would be adequate. Just something to consider.
My understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Stephanie, is having a traffic study completed is something that is initiated by the city itself. It's not something that the school can do.
Oh, we had this fight
Is
with
that-
Lance a couple
The
times.
site plan, the
and-
construction was supposed to have a traffic study.
Yeah.
But because the state takes the city out of all of the review processes, we don't get to see anything.
This is a very complex issue. Whenever we open a new school or whenever things change involving an existing school. As far as having a traffic engineer study a safe walk routes plan, that's not a requirement. So that's
Right.
not something that's been sought yet. We can take that back. Whether or not that is something we can do within the time that we have, I don't know. But I can tell you this, a couple of things. One, when we look at impact within a city, part of the efforts we make to try to minimize that impact is early collaboration, which I know is something that Principal McNeil, as well as a couple of our council members, have been heavily involved in. They've even met with me regarding both schools that are going to be impacting the Hyde Park area. And so the hope is that by working through that together, that there is that consistent communication for a longer period of time, so that hopefully we mitigate more of these issues early on, so we don't end up in crunch time where we're at right now. The goal of our safe walk routes plan is always just to create the safest walk route we can for children. Unfortunately, the burden of looking at crossing guards that need to be provided, that falls to the city and to the county. If it's a county road, then the county provides those crossing guards. They're the ones that do the hiring and the maintaining of that and the monitoring of those crosswalks and those areas. When it falls within a city and on a city road, that's when that burden does shift back to the city. And so that's part of Principal McNeil's purpose, is just making sure that everyone understands that a group of citizens, school staff members, and council members have come together to try to create the best ideal that we can and try to forecast ahead of time what some of those issues are going to be, like the traffic on 400 East, because that is a scary thought, having littles crossing that and using that as a main walkway to be able to obtain access to school. And you're 100% right about parents dropping off kids. I worked in a school as a principal where I had probably about 80% of my school in a walking zone, which will be similar to this. Right now, it's about 21% of students that are outside of the walking boundary that will be bused or leave from. And in that, I probably had 2/3 of those same parents driving their kids to school and picking them up, either because maybe kids didn't want to walk or weather was bad, or because we had basketball or ballet right after school and we had to do a quick pickup. So working together with the city, we tried to find the best way possible to make that manageable for students to be able to access school and also to lessen the impact of that traffic on our roads for the rest of our citizens. Sorry, that was long.
No, you're good. So the main reason we ask about a traffic study or traffic engineer is typically when a city changes a traffic pattern significantly, adding a lot of extra signage, changing speed limits, changing traffic flow. We have requirements by the federal government to perform a certain level of analysis to prove that it's warranted. And so we're just wondering if that's already been done by your group, or if that's something you're looking for the city to do for
So-
you.
One concern I have with that at this point is that we would be studying traffic as it exists right now, not traffic as it exists with school in function.
Right.
That will dramatically change that. I mean, we can look at standard traffic without drop off and pickup, but the numbers you're going to see on impact will be drastically different in a month.
Right. And I guess my point is this like chicken and the egg thing, where if you want the road closed by the time you open, the city has to have something to substantiate that we need this to happen, or else legally it's hard to justify if there ends up being a problem.
Yeah.
That's all.
Can I just address that? Sorry, I know
Yeah.
we got a bunch of people coming up here. We can only make the recommendation on the road closure.
Okay.
We can't say we're closing this road. I know that we'd have to have approval from all of you, police chief, we can make that recommendation. I think the key piece is this is what they see may need to happen down there.
Okay.
A big piece of that is going to be right now, and Amy hit on this a little bit, is training with our families. And communicating, like, look, this is gonna be an area where we see a concern. Please avoid this area, down the road, we might have to look at limiting traffic there. We know, Councilwoman Allred mentioned, closing it we can't close it for the community members, obviously, but we're looking for, the people coming in there and being able to access that. So
Okay.
we're making a recommendation on that. The pieces that we need some support on are the crosswalks, and looking at those, seeing if those are viable options for you guys, on that level. So does that
Okay.
help?
That does. I was just,
That,
our public works and engineer were panicking a little because they're like,
Yes.
I don't think we can close a road without a study. So,
We-
okay,
we-
that's good to know. It's a recommendation.
Yeah, and you notice it's a safe school recommendation that there's pieces that we do need to have in place, and that road closure, is a recommendation.
Okay.
well, I'm
So-
certain, Cache County School District has built a lot of schools. This isn't the first time. And I think even on the middle school, they had the traffic study that was done because of the busing and the roads and everything. To say that that's the city's responsibility.
Yeah, we had that fight with the engineer who was working on the school sites a couple times, and I won't get into it, but it's not always the city responsibility. Really quick, we've answered some of these other questions. It sounds like there is a plan to maybe partner with the city and try to go after some grant funds for things. That's good to know. And yeah, knowing that this is a list of
I looked at that
requests
link,
and not
but those
demand.
funds aren't available for, yeah, absolutely apply for them, but they're not available till I think 2028, I said on the link.
And like Principal McNeil said, we don't have to have the sidewalks in place.
Okay.
We're recommending the safest route.
That answered a lot of these questions. I guess the question number 2 and 3 can kind of be wrapped up into one. The crossing guard, is there like a standard or like a number of students or a threshold, or when you meet it, we require a crossing guard, or is this just something the school wants?
And and if you're entering a four-way intersection, a four-way stop already.
So there's recommendations from the Utah State Board of Education, and there have been recommendations by the Safe Routes to School group for what minimum number of students you have crossing over a road would require to have a crossing guard. I can't quote those off the top of my head,
That's
I
okay.
apologize. But that is something we've used to evaluate in the past. We've done that with other schools where we've seen a new neighborhood come in, and that has drastically changed foot traffic, and we've studied that to see if it warrants having a crossing guard there too.
Awesome. And then the follow-up is, are there other options besides crossing guards? I know that crossing guards is a position that's can be difficult to keep filled, chief. And so I wondered if there are other options available in those standards, like permanent signage. They have the flashing signs, the flags. Are there other options we could put in, maybe if we're having trouble filling the crossing guard slots and still meet those requirements? And has that been explored by the school district?
We've obviously been
Yeah.
in groups discussing these.
Yeah. There are some options with that. I know Smithfield City, I was a principal in Smithfield City for a long time. And just having the speed limit, a certain speed limit in that area constantly. I don't know, I can't speak to that right off the top of my head what that is, but there are some ways you can kind of mitigate that and not have a person there. Again, there's some state requirements there as far as how many cars, how fast they're going, those kinds of things. Ages of children, yeah. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So just looking at an elementary, it is going to be a little bit more restrictive with less options just because of the ages.
Yeah.
Okay. I just know it's
I could see
usually cheaper to buy a flashing sign than to try to fund a crossing guard for X number of years. And so if there's a way we could lessen that impact on the city's budget, where we kind of already have a budget set, and if the council chooses to approve this, we're going to be moving money around to try and accommodate some of these things. I just wondered if there's maybe a chance to do a one-time purchase. Could we do that rather than setting aside funds for ongoing expenses every year? So I know that's a really hard question you probably can't answer right now, but maybe if we could have that discussion, it'd be very helpful.
Yeah, most importantly, we just appreciate, we know this is an impact to the community. We know that this is a strain on the city, and we want to be aware of that, and we'll work together on that. We appreciate the council members' support that have been participating in this throughout the winter. They've had this completed since March. Being able to come and present it now, we appreciate that as well. But we can work, with whatever we need to.
Well,
that.
Go
Is
ahead.
kindergarten at the school all day, or is there a midday pickup as well? It is all day.
So there's parents can opt for a midday or a half day option. So there may be a few cars coming and going, but it won't be a big impact.
Again, I'd like to throw out the suggestion that perhaps the school district, like you, we are concerned about the children. Maybe the safest thing would be to bus more children.
And those are state procedures that we follow with that. There's funding. We don't get funding for anything within a certain mileage of the school. And so that's an additional cost that we don't have the ability to do right now, to provide transportation. And then there's also, kind of a, where do we cut that off? Where do we make that adjustment? There's some considerations there that we've looked at with every one of our schools. We've worked with transportation. There's some pretty hard guidelines there.
I will say, I like the words of we'll work together. I know the facilities gentleman that from the school that I last met with, working together meant him telling me what we have to buy and us buying everything. And that's not working together.
Having not been a part of that, I can't speak to that.
Pardon?
Having not been a part of
Oh,
it, I
yeah,
can't
yeah,
speak
it's
to that.
not, yeah, it's just didn't go well. So, Marcus, let's
And
make
I
sure
think-
that the council gets
Yeah.
a collective comments, questions, because I think there's some traffic things that we want to figure out.
Mhm.
And I truly hope that we can work together. I mean, this for the betterment of the children. We want to keep them safe. We got to figure this out. So we need to get, and you've got the, we have your email.
Amy.
If
Yeah,
we use you
I have
as
their
the-
contact
I
information.
was gonna say conduit, lightning rod, either way. Funnel all the comments through you so you can get them out to everything so we can get information. So the council and the city can, school wants to do what's right, the city wants to do what's right, and it's the kids that we need to keep safe. And the age, I mean, little kids, some of them will get down there and flashing light, they may not have shoes on because there's little kids. So we want to keep them safe.
And Derek, I was going to say, I think some of the frustration that you're hearing is, not to make light, and I know you can't do anything, that the state only funds busing of kids certain distances. Well, we don't get funds to build the sidewalks or to get more crossing guards. So, that, and I know that you can't, go back to the state. Well, Hyde Park says they get to have more money for more buses. I mean, I know it doesn't work that way, but part of the frustration is that the school just decides with very little notice, when we're already in our budget year, that, oh, we're going to build a school here in the next year. And now we've got to respond the best we can, not having budgeted for these things. And it turns around to, we either do without certain services, because now we have crossing guards we're paying for, all the other things that we're doing. And so, this isn't directed at the three of you. It's just concerns that I hear with the way the school district in the state of Utah builds their schools and kind of throws it on top of us. Now we have to figure out as a city how we're going to support that. So that's,
I understand that.
Yeah.
I don't know if, Chief, did you think about these when we created your budget?
We did actually. I knew that we were going to have crossing guards sometime, and so we tried to
Okay.
plan for that. We've hired one, and we're trying to move the others around so that we can have an existing guard that will do both. One earlier in the North Logan side, and then switch over to the Hyde Park side.
Because I
Yeah.
know the county's budget cycle is calendar year. Our fiscal is June 1st, so we're already into a budget that we approved back in March. So we're like, oh, okay. How
We're in
do
our
we-
interim
how do we
budget,
figure
right?
this? Pardon?
We're in our interim budget. It gets
Yeah.
fully approved when we have our tax hearing in August.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
we're into our interim budget because the state does what they do so much to help us. But we'll revisit that budget again in August.
And Mayor, I'll add that there was a lot of talk going on with everybody in the steering group, the administration, parents, trying to figure out, not necessarily, I mean, we call them safe routes, and it's like kind of sort of the safest route, but to try to mitigate some of the cost where we said, well, no, we're not going to move crossing guards and crosswalks and all that further east, trying to get across center, that we're going to use the same crossing guards being used for Cedar Ridge to try to, so, what you'll end up seeing is kids going opposite directions. So using current safe routes, current crossing guards down on 200 West and Center to get kids across center and then up on the safe route. So there was a lot of work trying to well, how can we resolve it? And it's not easy. I mean, I'll tell you, what the final is here, I'm not sure I'm great with all that, but you work as a group to come up with the best you can, because
And
I
we
spent a
have-
lot of time trying to figure this out, and there's not a great solution.
Right. One of the things we've tried to look at, and this wasn't the single driving force, but we do have Cedar Ridge starting at a different time to be able to offset those times a little bit.
What time will that be? Because that's a question I should ask, because can we double up on the crossing guards?
Well, and that's the purpose of one of the reasons of offsetting those is you can have crossing guards kind of
Going
move around. and-
Focus.
So it's at 8:30. So it's a ways away from the 9:05 or the,
Okay.
so you could shuffle things around a little bit if needed.
Council, this was on the agenda as a voting item, but it sounds like they're not looking for approval. This was just a presentation. So this is not something that needs to be voted on.
So
Apologies for that mix-up.
Let's put it on our next city council agenda as well, so that hopefully we can get some information. Put it tentatively on the next city council agenda, so that providing we get information, get some questions back to them and get some information back. So hopefully we can, and perhaps even meet with facilities, and let's,
I'll just say, if nobody sends me any questions, I'm not calling them to come back. So
yeah.
give me
So
questions, or else I'm going to let them be on their merry way.
let's,
Could I make
I-
one comment, maybe one suggestion? And this is an extremely complex issue, and I suggest maybe we take it one bite at a time, starting first with the crosswalk locations on that. I think once we have the crosswalk locations decided and finalized, then we can start the marking process and start figuring out who those crossing guards are going to be, and if it needs to be me, or if it needs to be, a crossing guard that comes from Cedar Ridge or something like that. Like, we can figure that out. But I think where school's starting, I think that's kind of the priority right now, is let's start with that, figure out the locations, and then marking them, and then, figure out who's going to man it.
let's
Have that a little better defined. Cause I wanna vote on something that's better defined, because right now, I don't understand it, and I know I haven't been in the steering committees. And I don't miss those, I'm sorry, but I understand where you're coming from.
I think my only question for clarification, it says yellow equals crosswalk. Is that for all legs of the intersection, or would that just be for a specific leg of the intersection? Just on your map, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Yeah, so I guess we would just need to know which parts of the intersection need one, if it's all parts or if it's just one of the streets, and then we could get started, like the chief said.
Council, I will commit to have Marcus, my questions tomorrow. Let's see, you're not in Monday, are you? So.
I'm not in tomorrow, but I will send them all on Monday if you guys get
Lot
me
of
over the weekend.
Great help you are.
But you'll take them up till Monday. You'll send,
I will,
I'll
that
put
okay, Mayor,
something
if
on
we-
my calendar right now, Monday, send over questions.
I will,
We'll get them to you
Yep,
by Monday.
by Monday, Marcus will send you questions on Monday. If you don't have your questions in by then, you have no questions.
Yeah.
We need to move on this.
different but related topic, and I don't want to take the time here, but I don't have children in the school, so maybe all the parents know. But I walk by the school and I'm thinking, I hope it looks better on the inside than the outside. And we've got a month left. And, you know, we had an opportunity with Hometown Days. We kind of talked about that months ago, that maybe that could be information. We didn't do that. So I just asked to make sure that hopefully it's going on, and maybe I need to ask my neighbors that have elementary school kids that they know when open houses are and all those kinds of things, because I'm not aware of any of that as a city. And I think somehow the city needs to be kept informed. Yes, school's really starting on time, et cetera, so forth, so we can help you get the word out to the residents.
Yeah, we'll let you know. I mean, obviously, it's a very tight schedule with that. We'll let you know as soon as we know. We don't know yet what that is. We don't
Okay.
know when the open house is. We don't know when the ribbon cutting, those kinds of things, but we'll let you know when we know. We've got a meeting the first part of August to get some timelines and just see what we're up against there. So we'll let you know as soon as.
Well, you just answered my question, because I've worked with Scott Rigby quite well and have a good relationship, but we've always, if there's major announcements in the school, we'd like to put them in our city newsletter, but because you're meeting the 1st of August, about the same time that people will receive our newsletter, we could get it in September. Our newsletter gets made, you cannot be cold. It gets being made right now and sent to publish, so you kind of answered that one.
Get it to you as we have to carry.
Yeah. All right. So I got the council on some short leases to get questions in, so in the email, you should have it Monday. So, all right, thank you so much and good luck. And like I said, heard nothing, but I know who you are, but I just, everyone says you're just a wonderful person to be principal there, so.
Thank you. I am looking forward to being a part of the community, so I do want us to work together and come up with the best solutions. And so please send me your questions and I'll do my best to answer them and coordinate with Derek and Stephanie too.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Let's move on to consider ordinance 2026-13, an ordinance creating Hyde Park Community Reinvestment Authority.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you very much. My name is Sean Milne. I'm with the Bear River Association of Governments. I'm joined this evening at the podium by Mr. Rob Sant of Urban and Maine. I'll explain or tee up an introduction for Mr. Sant here in a moment, but use a little time for personal privilege to say thank you, Mayor. Like the speaker before, Principal McNeil, I just want to say thank you. Rob and I have been in this line of work for a minute. We've worked with a lot of different jurisdictions, and Hyde Park's a real class act. I've had an opportunity to work with the council and the mayor, and mostly a lot with the mayor and staff on tonight's object and the agenda item and some of the things that are behind it. But Brian, you've become a real good friend, and I really appreciate you. And I'm glad that Jana's left, and I was able to go have some personal time. But I wanted to share a comment of thanks to her too. From my background that you're aware of, I know how much it is for spouses, and that's for the council as well. You can't get into the store quickly anymore and get out. Sometimes when you want a night out with your spouse,
It's Netflix.
It's not, yeah, it's not quick and just your own time anymore, and you sacrifice a lot. And like that last agenda item proves,
I'm just
sometimes a simple agenda item is much more complex than it looks on paper.
curious, after you got out of elected position, how long did you have to go to the recovering elected officials class?
You kind of started quickly when you're a lame duck, just gonna put that out there.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, I
Thank you, Sean.
I know it's been a
You're
long
right.
night, so I just want to say thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate you. Pass it along to Jana and your family as well, because
Will do.
I know how much they have to share you with the community. So moving along. The item before you this evening, you know that it's predicated upon an effort that we've been working with staff and the elected officials that you all are this evening for a couple of years as you've contemplated economic development in your community. For the betterment of local job creation, some additional tax benefit for sure. Some of it maybe with retail sales tax collection, some not, and mostly a property tax position. You've been working through a process to think about what business retention and recruitment might look like. And as we've worked on a couple of those projects, this item tonight is not about those specific projects, but we wouldn't be able to move forward with one of the tools that are at your disposal for business retention and recruitment, called tax increment financing, or TIF for short, if not for setting up a body as the agenda item tonight envisions. I'm going to ask Mr. Sant to go over some of those details and talk about what that process looks like. But that is the reason for that here tonight. You're going to take off a hat at some point if you create the reinvestment agency that's envisioned in this agenda item. And you will then put on another hat where you're more board-minded towards economic development. And so I invite Mr. Sant at this time to kind of talk about that process and what it looks like. And we're both here to answer your questions.
Thanks, Sean, and thanks, council and mayor. So yeah, so a community reinvestment agency it's a limited purpose local government agency. So you'll be the community reinvestment agency board is the city council. Mayor serves as executive director, and but it's a separate legal entity. So what you'll do is you'll have if you elect to create a community reinvestment agency, you'll have the meeting the same night that you do city council, but you'll actually adjourn as the city council and then reconvene as the reinvestment agency. This is an economic development tool that was created by the legislature all the way back in the 1970s. There's currently over 100 redevelopment, reinvestment agencies. They have changed the name throughout since the 70s, but now it's a community reinvestment agency. And they're in 25 of the 29 counties. So it's a tool that's used by Salt Lake City, so the biggest city in the state, all the way to Garden City also has one. So it's a tool that you could use to make strategic economic development decisions. And I think I'll take any questions about the process. So let me explain the process a little bit. So you'll adopt this ordinance, and then reinvestment agencies are governed by Utah Code 17C. And so in 17C, it says that for a community reinvestment agency to be created, the legislative body has to approve an ordinance that creates the community reinvestment agency. And then we also have to file a notice of an impending boundary action with the lieutenant governor's office. And then she will send us a certificate that says the Hyde Park Community Reinvestment Agency is created, and now you could now take action as that community reinvestment agency.
And to clarify, that action would be the use of tax increment finance.
Right. You could also acquire property. There's things you could do, but the main tool you would do is tax increment financing.
So council, you know, we've been working the project back forward and been discussing CRA. None of that can happen without having the board, which is you, to be the authority over that. We had previously discussed having inland port, and, you know, Sean helped us land this and for significant savings for the city, and we get to drive our own ship for the amount and duration. So I think that's significant for the city, and I think it's important for you as we continue to grow and get large employers and have businesses that can help shape and define the city for the future. Do you have any questions for Sean on this? This just creates a board. We still haven't got the meat on the bones for the board to act on. So that is forthcoming.
I will just kind of make a statement, kind of share where I'm at on this issue is, as I travel the state in almost every county really, and I have never found a county and even cities that are happy with the outcome of these. They just feel like they lose control of things. And and as I've thought about it, there's probably some some certain situations that they would be good. But boy, I just hate to open the door to it. That's kind of my opinion.
I'll say we just go next door to North Logan. They like it. They didn't like the county getting involved this last tax season, but they like having their CRA. But
I want to clarify what it means, a copy of the notice impending boundary action. What's this impending boundary action, and what does that have to do with the CRA?
So there's two things. So to create a CRA, two things have to happen. The city council has to adopt an ordinance, and then you send an ordinance and then what's called a notice of boundary action to the lieutenant governor. And then what that just says is basically Hyde Park is looking to create a community reinvestment agency. It dictates that the boundaries of the agency will be the boundaries of Hyde Park City. So it's just a step that you have to do. And that's the same, like you have to do it if you became a new city. A city also has to file this with the lieutenant governor. One of the lieutenant governor's hats that she's in charge of is boundary adjustments and annexation. So it's just a legal step that has to take place to
So
create an agency.
this boundary action is stating there's going to be a CRA and here's the boundary, which happens to be the boundary of Hyde Park City.
So yeah, and not a area, but an agency. There's going to be a community reinvestment
An
agency. That's something that they changed. It used to be redevelopment agencies, and then the project areas were different. Now the acronyms are the same, so it's a little confusing. But all you're doing tonight is you're creating the agency. You're not creating a project area. You're not giving away any tax increment. All you're doing tonight is saying, we want to create a board that's locally controlled. It's not controlled by a regional authority. It's not controlled by the county. It's not controlled by the inland port. It's not controlled by MIDA. This is something that the city council controls. And you're in charge of deciding, hey, do we want to do this development? Do we not want to do this development? Nothing can be created unless you approve it as a public body, which is different than a lot of the other tools that are in place.
So we could create it and never use it.
Correct?
you could.
Yep, it's just in place where something comes that you as a board want to support, then you have this tool in place. So it's saving you the time to do it at a later date.
And the map we send to Lieutenant Governor is basically saying within these boundaries is where a tax increment finance district could be created.
Correct.
We're not saying we're
Doesn't have to be
painting
an
the whole
Doesn't
city
mean
with
to create
Yeah.
a tax benefit. We're saying within the boundaries of the city, we could make
We
one
could
of these things.
Fine.
It's where you would be allowed to operate as an agency.
So this, you were going to say something, Sean. Just,
At the risk of being verbose, I'll just say, yep.
so
Every one of you knows me well enough to know I'm not pretending. So
Costco came with a CRA, didn't it?
they did,
Target came
Target.
with a CRA, didn't
they
it?
did,
Okay,
as well as a number of other.
as well
production
as
facilities that are
the,
not just retail.
as well as their soul on Target, but yeah, Logan's, but yeah.
Yeah, so-
Quite quick.
I'm not gonna take your bait, Mayor.
What other cities have done this? Looks
So-
like Logan, right?
North Logan.
So in,
North Logan.
in Cache County, you have the Cache County has an agency, Nibley has an agency, Logan has an agency, and North Logan has an agency. There's over 100 in Utah. So I would say as you get in Box Elder County, it's Brigham City, Box Elder County, Tremonton. There's a lot of,
They may not be doing anything, but they at least have established the
Correct.
agency.
But most do.
most do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're at various stages. You get to dictate the amount of tax increment that could potentially be used. You get to dictate the duration up to a not to exceed, and then you can renew as you get closer to that. I really appreciate Councilman Osborne's critique and concerns. I think Rob and I can both tell you a list of places where they would absolutely redo these again because they're a good tool. But you're in control. You're just literally taking off one hat in your capacity and putting on another hat. It's a little bit unique and it can be confusing in the state of Utah that it's one and the same people, but it's a different body. It's a different body politic. But you're in a lot more control. And I really appreciate the subtlety in which Mr. Sant gave the examples of this is not like outside agencies coming to tell you what to do. This is where if you didn't have this and you chose to use Inland Port as an example, it's not a critique of theirs, but you acquiesce that control to them. A portion of it. They'll tell you that they're going to be engaged with you to the extent that you want to have some measure of your hand on the steering wheel. But otherwise, you know they're in the driver's seat, so to speak. This is you being in the driver's seat. And you don't have to have this to the point that the councilman's brought up. But at the same time, in a sophisticated world where larger employers, larger manufacturers, retail developments like the mall redevelopment that the mayor asked about with Target, they know that these are tools at the disposal of either you or your near peer. And you either have the opportunity or you don't. And if someone else nearby that in the sense of that business says, I might go here, or I might go there, or I might go the other place, and you don't have the tool and or are not willing to at least have it in your tool belt, whether or not you pull it out and use it for a particular application, then they know right away that that's not an option. And so this just gives you an option, again, to several questions. Doesn't mean you have to use it, and you shouldn't use it broadly. It may be that for the time being, it's the entire city limit, but there's a time and a place for where you'd consider something broad, and there's other times where you want to be very surgical. You only want to take the wart off the big toe, not take off the leg below the knee. You know, so again, I just proved my point about it's hard for me to prove.
If this is such a good deal, how come we didn't do it last year or 5 years ago? Or 10 years ago, and why does not every city in the state of Utah have a CRA if it's this great tool?
I'll answer some of that. We didn't know it existed till like a year ago. I mean, I kind of knew about it, but it was only within the last year that Sean really sat down with me and explained this tool. And I said, this sounds like a great deal for the city. And then I started doing more research about it and understanding it. And so, yeah, it's been pretty recent that it's been brought up and we've understood how to create one and realized that we as a city probably could handle it at this point. We're getting to the size where we would like to have this in the toolkit. You know, it was mentioned, why would we want one? Well, because right now we're losing businesses to our neighbors. We got a McDonald's coming literally across the street in North Logan City's boundary. We've got several restaurants coming in Smithfield right across the border. If we had something like this, it could be something where it might make the difference between us getting one of those sales tax generators and going to our neighbors. Would it have made the difference in those specific cases? Probably not. But it's just another tool in the toolkit that we have only recently learned about. And by establishing this board and having the ability to do it, it just adds one more thing that we could bring out if we ever need to.
Councilman, if I can expand on that a little bit, because I really like the philosophy behind the question. I can't actually look back and tell you your predecessors, how long maybe you've been on here and didn't know about it, or what the county did or didn't know to tell you before my position existed just a few years ago. But really, I can tell you the genesis of this discussion for what we're here tonight to discuss came about because I had some chance conversation and mentioned what economic development could be as a condition. And that you guys, as a particular mix, had conceived that residents are very expensive. Residents, to anybody that's a realtor or a title company, know residents only pay property taxes on 55% of their property's value. The business of the exact same value. If we had a home worth $1 million and a business worth $1 million, the businesses are going to be taxed at 100% of that $1 million. You and I, as residents, are only going to be taxed at $550,000 of that value, or yeah, $550,000 of the $1 million value. Residents are expensive. The last agenda item kind of proved that in a passive sort of way. Businesses don't create kids, residents do. Now, it's not a knock on family creation. I'm all for big families. I love them. Let's do more of them. That being said, businesses are what pay for law enforcement more than residents realize. Businesses are what fund our school district more than most residents realize. And if you're not attracting the businesses and your near peer competitors, which are other jurisdictions, can, then you're going to increase your expense side of a balance sheet. Man, I'm getting really wonky here, but I feel like a little bit like Ben Stein and Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but you need to restore some revenue generation to your balance sheet. And business attraction, or as businesses grow and might have a Sean and Rob somewhere else that's trying to tell them, hey, you seem kind of limited to be able to grow where you're currently at in Hyde Park or any city or county or whatever. Why don't you come on over here? We have an incentive for you, or we have a better workforce, or we're closer to a railroad, or whatever it is. That's the sales position that we're in for jurisdictions like yourself. So you guys dared to ask the question. It started a conversation about the inland port, which is a way to defer those decisions being made by someone else instead of you. And as that discussion progressed, what coincidentally, almost serendipitously came out of that were some property owners saying, hey, we think we'd like to be on that train, pun intended. Let's make a deal. And through one discussion after another, Project CHIP, Project Back 40 have come forward to us. And we realized, well, we don't need that mechanism to do our marketing for us. We can do it ourselves. Now, we're your sales team and your accountants and your legal expertise for these kind of deals. You're the decision makers. You're the drivers that have your hand on the steering wheel. And this is restoring some of the benefit to you. So I can't talk about why others didn't before you or before my time, but you're having this discussion now, and the windshield view looks really great regardless of the rear view mirror.
I would say that Sean hit it on the head. I mean, if you look at our sales tax, although we have limited sales, we get 3 or 4 times more in sales tax than we get off the residential property tax. So we get that. And no business has been looking at us. We've been taking care of catching up infrastructure, doing things. But when we started looking to start leaning into it, looking forward, then we see these various tools that are out there for us. We need to be able to utilize that to, help the city and help our taxpayers. All you have to do is look at the certified tax rates for this valley. Every city on the west side of the valley has the highest tax rates. Cities that have commercials, that has industrial, have lower tax rates than everyone that doesn't have commercial. They have to bear a lot of more burden on the residents with a higher tax rate. So
Yeah, I've done a cost of service study before, and for every dollar of revenue a residential home brings a city, it costs $1.21 to service that home. And so the only other 2 things I would add, so something that's critical in community reinvestment agencies that some of these other tax increment authorities have is it's called the but-for analysis. And it's required that if you were to decide to create a project area, you would have to do a but-for analysis that says, but for the use of tax increment, either this development wouldn't happen or it would happen 10 years later.
Mhm.
But there has to be a reason behind creating a project area, and that has to be discussed in a public setting, which is also great about these. And the only other thing I would add is I've helped a lot of cities that you have land use authority, which is a great tool. But sometimes you might have a development that's allowed in your land use, but you might want some other things out of them. This is a great tool that you could say, oh, hey, you want, you know, a tax increment. Well, we want to have a better trail system, or we want to have XYZ. This is a tool that you could say, hey, we will give you this incentive, but you need to do A, B, and C for us. So that's just another benefit that you have. And again, tonight, all you're doing is you're creating the board, but you're not giving the board authority to do any project. That is at a later date. It's its own process.
Line 6, Marcus.
And that should say may, not my.
Yeah. Small word, big change,
Yeah.
Okay.
The governing board of agency may adopt rules.
may adopt.
Gerald,
Yeah.
do you know the reasoning behind people telling you they don't like it was because maybe they felt like they gave too big of a incentive
I
or?
think, you know, a lot of it has to do with losing control of an area, and then that, you know, MIDA or the Inland Port Authority. I mean, you give up a lot of control to them, and they can expand the area. They can
But the CRA would prevent that because they
well,
maintain control.
I
So,
understand
and
that what they're saying. I'm just concerned about opening up this door. You know what I mean? I can see it, like I said before, I can see some good situations, but it's just like having a really dangerous tool, you know, if we just start creating a lot of these.
I think we would want to be mindful about it, like with our development agreements, you know, that was new to us. And we jumped all in and then everybody wanted it, but I don't think this will be the same because we'll have this board. We have like the information, right? We're not just gonna go in and give everybody a tax incentive to come, but we're at a point in our community where we're growing and we aren't able to drive the economic flow like that we need here. And so I feel like this is important because it's going to help us attract those businesses that might not just come just because of the number of houses we have here, the number of residents. It might be like, well, that's attractive to us because it's just over the border and it's kind of in our, it will give us more of an incentive to bring the businesses, the retail shops here that we need to help lessen the burden of our residents.
but will it only attract them if we get in a bidding war with a neighboring
so.
city and give away the farm in order to have somebody here? And
I think we say it has to look like this for us to consider a CRA. Like it needs to, like we get to paint that picture, what it looks like, what we're willing to give up, what we want in return. Like we get to paint that picture and make those decisions. And it's the local decision. It's a decision made right here from us. Does it benefit our community? Is it worth the trade? There's trade-offs, like we're giving something up, but what are we getting in return? And what does that look like down the road? And how does that benefit our community down the road?
I think,
So I think it's a good idea to set up a board and then we be judicious about how we implement it.
I think there's a big difference between a destination place versus somebody wanting to build a Taco Bell.
Correct.
I mean, it's, if you have a big development business area that one developer is undertaking, that may be different than, oh, well, I want to come and build a Taco Bell. Well, we're not going to go through a CRA for a Taco Bell. Something that's going to drive your commercial or your industrial employment,
Bring jobs.
that kind of stuff versus it's, I wouldn't think that, I think the board should say no to those small things that are individually like that.
Yeah.
And I would believe that would be your recommendation.
Correct. Yeah. And that's another key thing to discuss. So again, we're talking about CRAs, we're talking about MIDA and Inland Port. How they work is they create an area and then every taxing entity has to give typically 75% of their property, future property tax for a 25-year period. With this one, not only is it controlled by the city, by the agency, once we create, it's called the project area plan, we have to go to every taxing entity, so county, school district, even though you approved it as an agency, we have to come back to the city council, all the special service districts, and we have to explain to them, hey, we need your tax increment, and they have to agree via interlocal agreement to give it to us. So my guess is the county and the school district, if we said, hey, we want money for Taco Bell, they'd probably tell us no. So yeah, it has to be a regionally or an impactful development.
So if we have this agency, can MIDA come in and slap an agency like that on top of us?
No, so
Wow.
again, the
Who,
good thing about
what did you say,
MIDA
MIDA?
is
Who,
Yeah, MIDA.
who's,
So
who's,
MIDA-
who's MIDA? What's
they're
MIDA
the
for?
Military Installation Development Authority.
Okay,
That's
got
Yeah,
it.
data
Yeah,
center.
Data
for
center,
for
yeah.
those who don't speak in acronyms.
Yes.
Thank you.
oh, come on, you.
But the rest of the city does not speak in acronyms, and we're talking about CRAs and
Yeah.
what does that stand for again?
Yeah.
You know, so I'm just, we
Yeah.
need to speak the language of
What's hard about
residents.
these- yeah. There's a lot of acronyms in this world. So yeah, MIDA is Military Installation Development Authority. That one, there has to be a military benefit for them to be created. But again, the thing with those is the only local control you have for that is you would have to approve them to come into your city. And so typically you don't see a MIDA. A MIDA and a CRA can't be this.
Coexist.
So the agency could coexist, but a project area and a MIDA area couldn't coexist because they use the same tool.
All right.
So what we're saying is we wouldn't likely approve or even get buy-in from other agencies for a small entity of some sort. It's going to need to be something that's going to make a significant difference, whatever incentive we were to offer, whatever percent, what remains coming in is going to have to be significant to that taxing agency to say, yeah, we're on board with this. It's not going to be a one-off restaurant or a warehouse here or something there. It's going to have to be something that would bring dollars.
Yep.
Because that's what we're talking about
Yeah.
is the businesses, commercial retail, whatever, is going to bring more revenues to the city. So taxpayers get to spend a little less.
Correct.
So, okay.
So I'll give you two great real world examples that just happened. So Pleasant View City, I just helped them create a project area, and it was, they had an existing industrial user and they wanted to do expansion. And no matter what, they're going to do an expansion, but it's either going to be a product line expansion or a product line or an expansion that didn't have a lot of the additional personal property tax. And for them, there was that big delta in investing an additional $40 million of assessed value. And so they were like, hey, if we want to invest this money, we need a little help. And so that was a direct benefit. The taxing entities could say, hey, we're going to get $40 million a year of more assessed value than if we didn't participate. And so they all agreed to participate. Another great example is Far West just got a Target. And with that one, there was a big road, a public road expansion they had to do, which was going to be $15 million. And no developer, they're like, we don't have that money to do all the improvements plus this $15 million road. And so they created a project area, and there was that benefit to all the taxing entities of not only the increased property tax, but also the easement of transportation burdens. And so they all agreed, hey, this is a benefit that we want to see. And so there's a lot of different, like once again said that but for example, there's a lot of different reasons why you would create a project area, but you have to agree to do it. And then all the other agencies have to also agree that, hey, there is a reason behind creating one of these project areas. And that, most of the time it is driven in, hey, how much revenue are we going to get compared to if we didn't participate? And then the other thing I would just add is another thing you could do to protect yourselves, and this is a later conversation, but I just helped another city, Hooper, create an economic development incentive policy. And so it's, as soon as you get someone knocking on your door, hey, we want tax increment, you just say, here's our policy. So as long as you fit these criteria, come talk to us. But if you don't, we're not even gonna entertain that. So it's just, it's a tool, and there's not a lot of negatives that you hear from a entity that creates an agency, because it's a local control, helps guide and steer strategically development opportunities and what you want as a city to see economic development into the future.
Can I add a nuance to Councilman Fowler's question too? I think part of the reason why, even if we compartmentalize for a moment and say the school district or another taxing entity wouldn't want to agree to a small little restaurateur, single pad, you wouldn't want to. You kind of asked and we both nodded, but we wouldn't advise you to do that on a one-off, because this should always be like we're economic development, and sometimes we can be at odds with community development. When we work together, that's when both functions are doing the best. You wouldn't want to do it for a one-off for the economic development purpose, because community development wise, you'd want to be intentional about where that kind of retail goes. And something like that, like you used a very specific brand, but I'm not going to knock them. But let's just say that, you know, a drive-through is going to create a bunch of extra traffic, right? We had that discussion with the last agenda item. And so traffic is an important element. You want the sales tax, but do you just want it as a one-off, or do you want to plan, as I look at Mikhail and Marcus, you'd want to plan what that master development looks like that the retail is going to be at, whether it's a node at a signalized intersection, whether it's the flow of the traffic through the parking lot with limited access to the collector roads. You wouldn't want to do a one-off. Like this is a very strategic. What Rob and Mr. Sant just noted about having a policy, I couldn't advise more strongly. Now, he and I may or may not have a difference in whether or not you advertise everything about your policy, because it is your negotiating leverage. If it's your poker hand, you don't necessarily want to show every other player at the table what is in your hand. But as long as you know what drives your decisions, Councilman Osborne, then you're still retaining that control. And back over to a very specific example that was brought up, I'm not going to rename it, but there were 2 municipalities locally that fought for a particular retailer. We're going to advise you to some point, you have to let that go, or you really, really want it that badly, right? Because then to the argument, it's a race to the bottom. Who's willing to give away the most? It either fits your objective, which is expressed in the form of a policy, or it doesn't. And that's when, like being with a fast talking auctioneer at something, you can be really motivated and played to like race to the bottom. We're doing our job well, and we've advised you before you ever get in one of those situations, you'll recognize when you're bidding emotionally versus when you're bidding to win and engage your bigger objective. Again, this is about setting up tonight is just setting up the agency, and so many more of these conversations will happen when we get to the actual project, that we can stop talking about hypotheticals in those moments and really start talking about the details of that particular deal and why it does or doesn't make sense for you.
I'm not sure how you got into pari-mutuel vetting, but yeah. So council, this, like they said, just creates that shell in which you can act. And it's,
But back to what Stephanie said though, quickly. We vote for it, we can use it if we want.
yeah,
Let's say
Or not.
Or not.
business A comes forward, we like it, we vote for it. Business B comes forward a year later or 6 months later. We don't like it, we vote against it.
yeah.
I'm gonna be mad if I'm business B. How do you deal with that?
And how, what talking about showing your poker hand, as soon as you give whatever incentive to business A, now you've shown your poker hand. You've kind of said, well, we'll come down this far, or we'll bid with whoever, you know, so that everybody knows that's coming in next. Well, last year you gave business A this deal, and we want the same deal. And so I guess does it come down to what they offer the city, revenues, sales tax, whatever it is? I mean, that you use that as your argument?
It could be that, it could be, this is the things they gave us. It could be, so Eagle Mountain, the first project area they created, so they probably had a similar problem that you had, is all of their rooftops were being used for Saratoga Springs to get sales tax drivers.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, what can we do to recruit for them? All their citizens are like, we want a grocery store. We don't want to drive 20 minutes for a grocer. And so they were like, we could create a project area. And then when they created it, they were able to get a Sprouts Market. And then what they said is the RDA board, all of them said, hey, we're only considering doing this because this is our first business that's willing to take a chance on us. This isn't something we're going to do going forward. So that could be a reason. It could be like I mentioned with Far West, hey, they also put in a $15 million road. And so if there's an infrastructure cost, you know, something to that, but every city that has an agency has to answer that question. And the other thing I would say is a lot of times these can be business driven, but they're more, you identify an area that you want to improve. So let's say, and I don't know, I'm excited to get to know Hyde Park better, but let's say you have 15 acres. You're like, we would love a business park. Well, then what you would do is you would create a project area. You would have those 15 acres in that boundary. And then you're like, hey, we're incentivizing this business park. That's the purpose of this. And so you as a city can decide, you know, and you might have a business that say, hey, you gave this to them, why are you not giving it to us? And then we'll help you say, well, because they did A, B, and C.
Sounds like to me, you could pick winners and losers, that we look at who owns which property and we say, well, that's Uncle so-and-so, and we're gonna put them in a project area, and then, but not
No,
this other location. That's,
Have to fit our master plan too. Like,
well, yeah,
master
we've got a
plan's
lot of
big
commercial, we got
Player in that.
all kinds of acreage commercial right now, and that's zoned that way, and stuff outside of the city that at some point will get annexed in. That
project
seems kind of
area
weird.
is driven by a business or a development coming into it. We don't just create one and let it dangle out there.
Well, that's not what
Well, you
that's not what I
could.
just heard.
We,
I heard that we
you
create
could.
one so we can try to bring somebody in.
North Logan City did that for their downtown area, and it sat for like a decade, and they didn't have much action on it. You could use it for both purposes. What I would recommend that we do is adopt the Hooper approach and create some kind of policy or some kind of framework if that's something that we're worried about. If we're worried about, is this going to be used and abused, let's make a framework to put some guardrails around it before we use it and it gets abused, right?
So where can we go to learn more about this other than just Google?
so
I mean,
Can I chime in a little bit though? I'm gonna go off of what Mr. Sant mentioned about the $15 million road. More often than not, in that kind of situation, the $15 million road didn't just benefit that company. That's where I want to try to connect the dot with your argument of picking winners and losers. What it likely did for a $15 million road, that's pretty substantial. I don't know a Target that needs a $15 million road. What that likely did was it was necessary for a second point of ingress egress for traffic flow because they're coming in first, but actually opened up the opportunity of development that other parcels nearby also would need the $15 million road. And so it's a regional approach. I can understand that someone who wouldn't be a party to this discussion or listening into your YouTube channel or however you disperse this out on the internet tonight, if they didn't have this kind of conversation, they would think because Target was the only one that came in that example, well, Target got a $15 million road. No, they didn't. They were just the first ones that came to that development. But for us to develop the whole 150 acres, we were going to need that $15 million road. We just said, rather than wait until 10 years after Target came and then some other secondary retail came and the congestion is just terrible and out of control, we're going to put the road in now up front, and we're going to use this mechanism. And the other 150 acre parcels, they're also going to develop. But to your point, you may not also give another incentive to that project area during the time that you're paying back yourself for the $15 million road. Because it sounds like we're giving it for Target, but really you may induce Target to build it at the same time as their development, but it's going to be your road. It's the public's road. It's not Target's road. And so again, it comes down to policy, a regional kind of approach, even if at first it doesn't seem like a region is benefiting.
so things that we've been looking at, I mean, we took a page out of the inland port things that we look at the CapEx, how much are they investing in the community? What's they investing in infrastructure? What's their median pay for the employees are going to have there? That means they're bringing something to our community. You know, longevity, what's their overall business model and plan for success? These are all things, how did they invest back into a community? These are all things that we've kind of, we had them written out there on the board, but trying to come up with the guidelines. It's not on any one parcel, it's on what does it bring to the community? And does it work for Hyde Park City as well as for the business? If it's building the Taco Bell, that may not be the one that hits everything that you want. But if they're building a big pad with 27 buildings and a hotel and things like that, that might be something else. So but I saw in here that you can create the ground rules, you create the bylaws on which you function and how you do things. Yeah, you may have this agency, but you don't meet these guidelines. Thanks. And I think if you're doing small things like that, you're gonna get rejected at the county or school area. It's an area that you want to incentivize, not unless you got a grocery store, that might be something that you want to do, but a little sandwich shop to me wouldn't hit that bill.
I think it would make sense for Hyde Park to have this tool with the policy that guided us, like as we enter it. It needs to check these boxes for us to enter into this type of an agreement.
So it
Yes.
is before you, and obviously more discussion, but you can make a motion to approve, disapprove, or continue. Or it just dies on the vine too.
I just request that, because even your comment there just confused me a little bit. Who develops the policy? Is it the city or is
We
it
do.
the CRA?
The board, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying, but
This-
it's not we. We are the city council right now. We're not the CRA.
It's the board,
I know that, but we are separate
right?
entities. So I just want to make sure. So who's
board-
developing the
We have a
policy?
lot
If
of-
it's the CRA, is it the city staff? Are they,
We have a
And my-
lot of experience standing right here
My-
that has.
and my request would be is that before we have these conversations or it comes up, Mayor, and we're going to vote on something that's going to impact Hyde Park, that we get
You
a
wanna
read
create
ahead or
policy for an agency that doesn't exist.
I want, what's that?
You want to create policy for an agency that.
No,
doesn't exist?
I want to understand better what it is we're talking about before I show up here, so that I have a better understanding of what I'm going to be voting on. And I just, like a little read ahead. I mean, to me, there's significance here. Who develops the policy that we're talking about? Because we talk so often about we're going to do this and that, and we get around to it, or maybe we don't get around to it. Does Marcus, McKell, are they going to develop the policy? Because I really need to understand. So I don't need to have all the answers now. I want to know where I can go to find the answers. And I won't take any more time
Sean?
to know.
Yeah, I would love, yeah.
Okay, that's what I need to know. So you will help
Yep.
us develop the policy for this.
Yes.
Okay,
And
so
so
I
what-
don't need to have them do
What-
more stuff than they're already doing. Thank you.
What we did, I'll give you the Hooper example. And that was one where it was a city policy and the city adopted it and the RDA board adopted it. And then what we did is we had 2 work sessions where we sat down with the council, the RDA board, and we said, okay, what do you want in your policy? And we helped guide that discussion.
Okay.
I currently help about 25 agencies. So something I'm well versed in, and I help them create project areas. I help do feasibility studies. I help do a lot of these things. And so we're your experts that will help you in a work session decide, hey, what's the best
Okay.
policy? But tonight it's just, do we create the agency? And then that policy discussion is a great one that we'd have at a later date.
Okay, thank you.
I think we have some really great guidance as of tonight's discussion to know where that policy framework out there begin, like a skeleton of it, for your consideration and helping. It has helped inform us, like the very first workshop we would have with you, as to, based upon some of the elements that were brought up in this meeting, that we would refer to in the future, in a past tense sort of way, this is what we feel like we got were important. Here's some other options, like a cafeteria plan from other examples that we both can say we've been a part of. What do you like further about these, and develop it from there. And to that point, it's like realizing tonight is like realizing you need a car, you're on the lot, you're gonna buy a car. You're likely to use it, but you'll determine as a family when you're gonna use the car versus when you're gonna walk. And we're gonna have the process of the next several months figuring out policy that would be like, well, do I want the undercarriage protection? Do I want black interior versus tan or whatever else? And this is just the first in a process of steps. It's not the end all be all.
Yes.
Do you guys mainly do commercial type things, or do you also get involved with residential?
Go ahead.
So everything, commercial, industrial, and residential are all tools that projects that people use this tool for.
The state even has requirements that some portion of a project area would need to be used for low to moderate income housing.
It's really broad what you could use it for, but 10% of the funds are set aside for affordable.
Again, at your discretion.
Yep, how you use it.
So tonight, we're agreeing to buy the tool. And by buying the tool, we will go to work on the policy, and we kind of understand that.
Yep.
So.
How to
once
use
we-
it.
Once we get policy, it's still gonna be quite a while before we get something before us. And when we have something before us, it's gonna look a lot different in our conversation tonight, because we're gonna be looking at it from the city standpoint. What's in it for our city, what's in it for our patrons?
Yep.
But we can also say no, correct?
Yeah.
I move, we approve ordinance 2026-13.
I'll second it.
Got a motion from Kurt to approve ordinance 2026-13, ordinance creating the Hyde Park Community Reinvestment Agency, and a second by Stephanie. Any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with nay?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. And we need to record. You already know who the one is.
Yep. I wrote it down.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Thank
Sounds like
you.
We'll be back before you with those guidances.
okay. The next item is consider ordinance 2026-10, or ordinance amending Title 12 to review the standard land use development definitions. And Kyle did a fantastic job at the Planning Commission with this. So I'd look for. I agree wholeheartedly with, other than I don't like the shall thing. It's like, why can't we just define what shall means and move on from it? But
Another time.
anyway, go-
5-minute recess.
you want to take, I need a facility break, so yeah. let's do- I'm taking 5 minutes, so.
Second.
Well,
I'll second it.
What you gonna do, firing?
or not. He's never done it before, and you
You
can.
can keep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, I'm set up, so I had eons to do so.
Okay.
So you and I.
The first application, is being signed by all parties, meaning to sign this, because it's part of that. Well, I understand, but that's why I was driving by and saw all the lights, he's kind of hard to find sometimes, I just gotta go in and see.
Yep.
So what happens is.
Okay. Chief, Harley?
They're gonna be coming in.
So it's gonna be obviously it has to be big. Cause you, we don't have the most differential. What do we get?
Like this while everybody's. I don't think I should touch that. It's too-
Sorry, can I switch you?
Yes.
Well, what you could do is turn it off, and turn it on. Or, you know.
All right, I'm ready to start. Let's go.
Made a decision. Yeah. For you, these will get together for you. Have all of this going on here. Yeah, yeah, if you're hard to hold the mouse, the eyes. You want, I'll just allow you tomorrow. Someone knows if it's also. If it's home, and we just. Aside from that, if you think you. For everything we did, we got about you got a great. This is telling us it is.
Yeah, I'll give you a call if you want, or you can hang out. Thank you, Kelly. Right.
And that's what I'm referring, that's where I, this was going, was much trying for CRA.
You're right.
And the mayor. It's kind of like crickets, we haven't heard any. Yeah, that's it. Sure, everybody thinks so. I just.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, no, you're good. I was just really warm earlier. Wow, looks like you lost us. What, how many minutes did we adjourn for? 20? What was this? 5. 5, oh.
Right, are you ready? We got done.
So we get Tiffany up here, we're ready.
Okay,
Let's go.
all right. We're gonna keep going on. We'll reconvene. And we'll turn it over to Kyle. I think we're turning it over to you, aren't we?
Yeah, sorry about
Okay.
that. I was unmuting the live stream. Okay, so we are considering ordinance 2026-10 to revise and standardize land use and development definitions. So these first definitions are on accessory dwelling unit, internal accessory dwelling unit, and detached dwelling unit. We are modifying them to be consistent with state code. In addition, the planning commission recommended that we add a phrase at the end of detached accessory dwelling unit that clarifies the purpose of offering long-term rental. In addition, we are defining retail sales establishment. This is to reduce extraneous language in our land use table that lists all of the different examples of uses, and instead we'll refer them to the definition section itself. And finally, we want to standardize the format of the definition section. Each title of Hyde Park Municipal Code uses a different format for the definitions. And so we want to make this consistent with the state's guidelines on what a definition section should look like. It is of note that the Planning Commission gave a unanimous favorable recommendation of this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. So this just adds some better clarity on some definitions and gets us in compliance with state. So
Looks good to me.
yep.
I
So
appreciate it.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
work
thank
and
you.
time.
They-
Oh,
I was going to say the planning commission had quite some discussion on this, and I appreciate the effort they have on this too. And Kyle as well. He's spent a lot of time pulling this together. So
Mayor, are you ready for a motion?
I am
This is
ready
gonna
for an
come to a
emotion.
shock to everybody. But I'd make a motion that we
Not approve.
approve this.
Oh, no, oh, okay. Oh,
I'll second that motion.
just a minute. Be
And I
still
guess
my-
we need to put that, what it is.
Be still my heart.
Oh, sorry.
26,
So we have-
2026-10.
We have a motion from Gerald to approve Hyde Park City Ordinance 2026-10, amending Title 12 to revise the standardized land use development definitions, and a second by Tiffany. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with nay? Motion
cookie.
carries 5-0. So the next item is to consider ordinance 2026-11 and ordinance amending Title 12 to close applications and zoning maps amendments for R2 and mixed MXD zones and the repeal of the RT zone. Kyle, you want to take this one too?
I'd love to.
I bet you would.
So- The Planning Commission and City Council in the past have voiced concern that the objectives of the residential to mixed use and residential transition zones have not been achieved in practice. As such, ending development in these zones as well as preventing related zoning amendments would allow for more discussion around the future of these zones. Because there are no vested developments using the residential transition zones site development standards, the RT zone can be repealed, excuse me. And again, it is of note that the Planning Commission gave a unanimous favorable recommendation of this ordinance. Thank you.
I would say on this that a developer that's trying to get into our process, he keeps struggling, and I don't remember if it's Jake, is that who it was? I can't remember.
Your friend with the 5-star roundabout.
Oh, is it
Yeah.
him?
He's in. He completed his
Because
application.
the biggest challenge is I didn't want to have anybody that's trying, that has been rejected at some level, to be excluded, so I wondered about the effectivity on that.
Everybody's vested that has been in the queue. I did reach out to one developer who had, a subdivision planned for the RT zone whose application was incomplete and said in the R2, yes, sorry, in the R2 zone, whose application was incomplete. He came in, he got me the documents we needed. His application was complete. He paid his fee and he's vested.
Was that who it was, the Starfish?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, nobody's being cut out of a process at this
Yeah,
point.
right.
We made a valiant effort to try to make sure everybody who had an application even close to being done had the opportunity to get done. What this would do is close those new subdivision applications just for the R2 zone, mixed use, and then we're gonna send RT back to its parent zoning so that we don't have those split zoned parcels like we talked about in our discussion on this one.
Can I ask a couple questions, Mayor?
Absolutely.
So I know that I've heard a lot that the developers don't like this zone. But when we created it, that was kind of what the citizens wanted.
The MXD or the R2?
RT.
Yeah, transition.
Okay.
Sure.
And so are we doing away with this because we want to try to please the developers to give them a different, I just don't want to go away from it. We went through all this process to get to where we were. And so, and I've watched them come in and say, we doesn't pencil to have these residential properties here. And I guess I'm not really that concerned about that. I'm more concerned about what we want our community to look like and what maybe Melinda can speak about what you want to do with this area in place of this.
So next steps are to create our zones that are going to take the place of these things. Our low density residential, and you better jump in when you need to, medium density residential, high density residential, and centralized centered dense, we're still workshopping that name. So that we can offer different densities for residential development in the city and not have that commercial requirement. That way we're going to preserve our commercial for strictly commercial purposes. I think the MXD was a great start. But through discussions with Planning Commission and yourselves, it's been determined that we need to split those things up and that we need to provide opportunities for those townhomes or different densities that don't have the restrictions that come with the commercial. Because that's what the developers want to do, is provide us more homes, but not be tied to the commercials. So we'll preserve our commercial, we'll give more variety of housing to the developers, and still work within what we see as the vision for the city.
So are we thinking that on the east side of Wolfpack Way, at some part way up is going to be commercial zone, and then east of that will be a little
We're gonna bring all of those zones before you, including the future land use map, so that you can make those determinations on behalf of your constituents. We're not gonna make that decision. We're gonna bring that as discussion and workshop for Planning Commission and City Council to make that decision.
Okay, so in listening to your planning meeting where you talked a lot about this,
Thank you for listening.
some of it is going back to A1, which I thought we didn't want acre lots.
Well, it will for now, because we can't just pick a zone for someone
Yeah,
willy-nilly, right? And so the natural order of this would be to let, or to direct the split zoned parcels be the same zone across the board
yeah.
where they came from.
So we don't, when we do away with the zoning, we don't, just because the zoning is going away, it doesn't necessarily mean that whatever is zoned as that reverts to something else because we did away with, if we did away with A1, do we now change all of these homes that are A1 to something else? It
That's
stays exactly
not
the
what
way
we
it
would do.
is.
Yes.
It
It
does-
stays the way it is until we make those changes.
Right.
Or until a property owner wants. to
Yeah.
make.
Okay. So
That's
if
why
there-
we're leaving the ordinances on, or the development standards on the books for now, because there are properties that are going to continue to exist like that. So R2 will have to stay, MXD will have to stay, but RT has no development in it. We don't.
nobody
No,
wants.
and so that's the only one that can be repealed because it has nothing to govern those standards.
And I think we can still be mindful because kind of the residential transition zone was created to protect the neighborhoods.
Mhm.
And we can still be mindful of that as we.
Yes, moving
things
forward.
We're
Well,
gonna
we
do
Need a reason.
higher
to
density
be-
residential there. Is that right?
You guys will decide,
But that's kind of the vision or your thought?
like a medium density or a higher density.
Okay.
Weren't you,
Or simple, a
as-
mix.
as I understand, Marcus said that you guys were working on that thought process of that mixed residential. And that would be a great thing.
We wanna provide choices, right? That's
Yeah.
what having property is about, is being able to have choices of what you wanna do with it to a degree. And so we wanna provide opportunity, provide choices, and still house everybody's kids and grandkids into the future.
You know, Melinda about fell out of the chair when I said that. Just from me. So, all right. And I don't even remember the guy's name, but thank you for being mindful of him and reaching out to that guy.
Absolutely.
So council, this is before you to amend R2 MXD zones and to repeal RT on ordinance 2026-11.
I move that we pass ordinance 2026-11.
Got a motion from Stephanie. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second from Dave. Any more discussion?
And this might come to shock to you too, because I'm probably going to vote for this, but under the condition that we are going to have that vision of what you're talking about going forward. Are you
Yeah,
guys
that's-
kind of thinking that way too?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. What
you
what
really-
vision we think it ought to be, not necessarily what Miguel thinks
okay.
it should be. She'll have some
Either way.
recommendations.
The city council will impatiently wait for these other zones.
Longer, or the more help I have into the future, the faster it can happen.
It's worth mentioning that the LDR zone will be presented as a discussion item next week at Planning Commission. So we've already begun constructing these site development standards and they're already underway to go through the process.
Good deal. That's excellent. So we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I
Any opposed with nay? Motion carries 5-0. The next item is to consider the RFP responses for the Hyde Park City Active Transportation and Parks Plan. And that's why Lisa has held out to, she paid for the whole seat, but she's waiting to the end of the movie. So council, we had a discussion in open session workshop. Do you have more discussion that you want to have amongst council? Or is anybody ready to make a motion?
So do we have one of the applicants here? Yeah, right.
I
No.
do not believe so.
Oh, okay. But you're anxious to find out. You're anxious to be at the end.
Well, she's with the county, so.
Okay.
Yeah, the
But-
folks from the county community development office have been helping me a lot with this whole process. So I
Okay.
imagine Lisa wants to see how this all turns out.
Okay.
So-
All right. Super.
So to recap the work session that we had earlier, there's a lot of discussion about different pros and cons. It sounds like everybody agrees these are four very good proposals. And at this point, we are just choosing from one of the good proposals. I don't think there was one that was deemed to be bad out of the group. And so council, I guess I'll turn it to you. Is there discussion about yeah, just like the mayor said, are we ready to make a motion? Is this something that needs more discussion? Where are you at?
I wonder what our priorities are. Is it the timeline?
I feel like with the points assigned, like, does that reflect how the council feels about choosing who we award it to? Do you feel like the quality of the proposal and the team qualifications are more important than the cost and the timeline, or?
Yeah, the grading sheet was not established as the official method for selection. It was a way to get everybody thinking about it. And so if we,
Some of those things more, does that change where they fall for you? You know, that's just a thought I.
Yeah, what does the staff feel like is the most weighty matter?
for us, when we went through here, our biggest thing that we looked at is management approach and technical approach, mostly because the other items were very similar. What set people apart was how they're going to complete the analysis, how they're going to involve the public, and how they're going to come up with the ways, or how they're going to come up with the plans. That was what were the differentiating factors for us. And so the reason, so our staff recommendation, just to reiterate for the council meeting, is to go with SE Group. And really it's because they had a lot of detail on how they're going to involve our residents in a feedback process. They're going to have digital formats for input. They're going to have open houses. They maybe didn't have the breadth of experience, but their proposal showed that they had done a lot of research on Hyde Park and our situation and our current status of our plans. And so we felt like they had the most attention and care in responding and showing that they're going to be very involved in getting input from the city council and the residents in crafting the plan.
I do like the idea of having a fresh face.
Do we open ourselves? I guess the risk is there, but high or low when everyone meets the criteria and you don't go with the low bid.
In this case, the RFP didn't guarantee that we would go with the low bid. So there were lots of factors the city would consider, and it wasn't just going to be based on price or timeline. So while those could be determining factors, they do not have to be the only determining factor in selecting a consultant.
Well, I'm just concerned about potential litigation when, quite honestly, all four of them probably could do it. Now, do they get it done in the timeline that you want? And, you said that SE Group has all of the ways to public outreach. Others are less expensive, do it sooner, and you could add things in because you are under budget of what you have for a grant. So
I want to clarify something. Go ahead, Mayor.
go ahead. I'm just looking at my scoring here.
A comment I made during the working group, one of my concerns as I looked at SE's proposal is I saw that they had done the county trails and active transportation master plan back in 2018, and then nothing between 2018 and 2026. And I'm thinking, is this a brand new organization? So in the 2 minutes between the working session and this, I got on the internet, and SE Group has been around for, I think it was since 1958. They have a worldwide presence. Their proposal just didn't show, here's where all of our other offices are around, the Western US or around the world. So
Right.
I feel much more comfortable now that, and even perhaps they're going to show us maybe who their local office staff is, but, certainly they would probably do kind of what I would expect our local Sunrise,
In these two towns.
you know, from to do. They would reach to St. George or wherever to get their parks experts, just as SC group. It's more than just
Everybody else.
the handful of people that I thought were like, oh, there's not much going on there and they haven't done much recently. So anyway, just
Mine doesn't matter.
to clarify that, I feel much better about kind of that comment that I'd made earlier.
And that was kind of my thinking as I read through all of them, is just like, what is the information that they didn't include or that they just assume we already know? Or I feel like there is a lot of like gray area that maybe isn't outlined in those proposals, that you might get more from one or another that they don't necessarily talk about. So I think it's hard, that's hard for me to say, this is the best. You know,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
like SE Group or Sunrise, because they're more affordable, like that's kind of.
Another common thread in all the proposals is they all want to have some kind of stakeholder or steering committee meeting to kick off the project. So yeah, they're responding based on what we said we wanted, but maybe during those kickoff meetings, we decide that we're taking it a maybe a little different direction. We want to focus more on one particular aspect of it, or maybe their methodology makes it so it's gonna be more effective to be a little different than the proposal. That's all of the proposals built that into their scope, to have some kind of kickoff meeting, some kind of starting process where they would meet with the city council and have, you know, time to say, why are we doing this? What do you want to get out of it?
I would say in my experience, in my career with bids and things like that, the RFP has to stand on its own. Actually, in my old life, it was against federal law to go out and research companies to find out more about them. The RFP stands by itself. But that was doing federal stuff for,
That's good to know.
so evaluate them for what they are and
Right. It kind of goes back to, we know that Sunrise Engineering is doing a lot of things for the county and for the city, but the fact that they've responded to the proposal means that they're confident they could do it. Just like every company, the fact that they submitted a proposal with a timeline and a budget
Yeah,
means that they are confident they can do it. Regardless, even JUB, don't have a great experience. The word on the street is they're slow. They're saying they can complete it within this time frame. So that's what we have to judge them.
they said any one of them probably could do it now. Are they gonna be as responsive, hit everything? It's,
So again, it's a tight race. The staff recommendation comes from myself, Mikkel, and also we did have the city attorney review and give us a grading, and he agreed that SE Group would be a good choice. And that would be, he didn't feel like we would face any sort of legal risk choosing them as the best proposal.
Is the timeline the same? I'm sorry, I don't know this. Is the timeline the same for both SE Group and Sunrise?
I believe SE Group was 1 month slower
Yes.
than Sunrise
I
was.
think they were like April and then May.
Yeah, they were gonna have it delivered to us by the end of May, and Sunrise was proposing to have it to us by April.
In April. So
So the timeline's similar.
my perspective, I've narrowed them down to those two. I mean, so, and feel good that, I mean, the recommendations that we heard from both the mayor and the staff kind of match that, where, you know, those two were at the top of both of them.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just got them backwards from them, so.
Well, and again, it's a staff recommendation. I'm not gonna storm out in a fit because we don't choose the one that we recommend. They're both good proposals. I'm just letting you know that that's the one that we feel like that had the best response to the RFP that we submitted.
So I think that goes back to Stephanie's question. If we've narrowed it down to two, I don't know, because you guys haven't said what you feel like are your top two, but then what are our most important like categories that we want to meet, and is one fit better than the other? Like, is it timeline? Is it cost? Is it the community engagement? Does that make a difference? And how and what we would decide? What are your guys'?
Well, I mean, SE, I mean, I think I had them probably towards the top end. I guess one of the things is, of course, I'm kind of worried about money a lot, but so I think Sunrise kind of knows us a little bit. And I don't think they're going to develop a plan that's going to be kind of over the top on really expensive designs and stuff like that. So, but I guess I wouldn't, to me, if you went with SE, I'm not going to storm out of here mad either.
Oh, what was that, Carol?
I says if we select SE, I'm not going to storm out of here
Oh.
mad either, and maybe it will turn out to be amazing. But so I don't know, but
Okay.
And I think Sunrise done a great job, and I go almost weekly to those meetings and interact with them, and I think they're responsive. You know, they're on it, but at the same time, you know, kind of, Mayor, to your point, you know, I shouldn't look outside the proposal to see what else SC does. I just look at the proposal, but I know a lot about Sunrise that's not in the proposal, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I've kind of like, yeah, I know what they're capable of because they do it for the city every day.
It's a
So-
dual-edged sword.
Yeah, yeah,
with them.
so-
Yeah. Because they have everything on us, but then they have everything on us. So what do we do? So council,
Just a quick comment. This is really difficult because what you've said is, I think is true too. They're all good.
Yeah.
So can we go wrong? I'm not sure, but I lean towards Sunrise just because more fiscally than anything, but I could live with either one of them, so.
hindsight's a great detector of what you did wrong. So a year from now, you'll know.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Kurt. We would like to get this moving at some.
so
point.
Mayor Melinda has something to say.
Oh, Melinda, yes,
Miss
planning
Melinda.
chair.
And it's probably not fair to speak to this. I did not go through each of those proposals, but just tonight I did pull up the SE and saw Dayton Kreitz on there. And so you talk about Sunrise knowing our city. We've worked
Kreitz
with
is-
Dayton before.
Sure, so-
Dayton also knows our city because he used to be a planner at the county. So Dayton would also know.
Yeah.
that We're not big spenders. He knows the trail system that we have. He knows about the canals. Like, I feel like that's kind of a local guy too.
And I even
And
think.
I like the idea of fresh eyes.
And I think even Sunrise addressed the fact that because they know the city and familiar with the city, they already have like a parks inventory. They already have some of that stuff because they've done other things for the city, so therefore they shouldn't be charging as much money to come and do a parks inventory or something that they already know.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, that what Gerald and Kirk are talking about on the fiscal side, well, they can come in lower because they already have information.
Because we've already paid up.
But
We've already paid them for what, you know, yeah.
so I would also add that, as what Melinda said, the BST, I think, started with Dayton, didn't it?
Yeah.
It's so,
I think our entire city trail plan started with work that Dayton and Charles Wheeler
We
did.
did a lot, yeah.
so
Only problem is we haven't
All
done
right.
much. We still
Mayor, I'll
have a
make
trail
a-
going through
I'll
town.
make
Really would like one.
Carol, hold on, I can need my seatbelt.
Okay.
I like this girl to be really proactive.
I love it.
I kind of came down hard on that other issue, but, so I would propose that we accept the SE bid, SE group for this.
I'll second it.
Okay, I got a motion to accept SE Group as I gotta get back to my agenda. I was reading something else here. As the RFP for the Hyde Park City Active Transportation and Parks Plan. And a second from Kirk. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with nay? Motion carried 5-0. Okay.
Okay,
Council.
staff, we're supporting you on this, so
Thank you. We
make it
appreciate
happen.
that. So the next steps, like I'll be reaching out to SE Group to let them know that we would like them to perform the study for us, and then I'll get a contract written up and sent over to them, and then
Let's
we'll get it
be,
kicked up.
before we announce it all out, let's, although it's here in public record, get a meeting with them and make sure that they can meet on all of those deliverables that they're saying, so they can live up to the contract. Then we can do the contract award. The next item is really important, so pay attention. Consider resolution 2026-16. We have to have this one. A resolution defining the game of chance to be used in the event of a tie with a 3 or more candidate in midterm election. So I suggested that we use the youth council spinning roulette table, but
I think that thing's weighted.
So,
anyway, Marcus has,
yeah, this is a really exciting business. So since the mayor has decided that we're going to be having a midterm election, the state code used to say there was a coin toss. I guess somebody had a problem with the coin toss because they changed the state code to say we still have to do a game of lots. But the city council gets to decide what that game's going to be. And so the recommendation that we as city staff have, that's the least, the most equitable we could think of, was drawing straws. What we picture is we'll get a pack of popsicle sticks from the craft store, paint colors on the very bottom, put it in some kind of cup with a cover on it so you can't see into the cup, and then people can draw their straws.
How about we just had this game out from the shed out there, Connect Four. We could do a game of Connect Four.
Plinko.
So that's the recommendation. I don't see the ordinance in box. I think, Don, you may have forgotten to upload it for all of us, but that's the recommendation,
what
that
it
we
is.
have it be the drawing of straws.
Is that even, how possible is it that 3 people tie?
Well, depends on how many people put in for the job, but I mean, if we get to it and there's 10 people and all the city council votes for one person, that's 5 people.
Oh,
So
yeah.
then you would have to do something to narrow it down to 3, and then you do the process again.
Well, in the event of a tie, doesn't the mayor still get to vote?
Yeah, but like
I vote for the 6th person.
yeah. So on the off chance that there is a tie, we would like the city council to designate the drawing of straws as the game of lots where we will break the tie.
I move that we do that.
I still like the 100-yard
Can-
dash,
can-
but
I just want to ask a question because this is people, well, we're talking about a midterm election, but this really isn't an election. It's an appointment, or is that just a term that the state
That's the
uses?
term in the state code. It's called a
Okay.
midterm
Oh.
election, but really it's somebody who's chosen by the city council to fill the seat, fill the vacancy.
Mayor, how long's your left on your term?
about 2 weeks.
So tomorrow morning,
You're in.
tomorrow morning, we will send
think it
out
goes over 3
a
years.
message on social media that a vacancy for the mayor's seat will be opening, and we're accepting applications starting tomorrow. We'll send out another message on Monday in case people don't check the website or social media, because we know they don't. And then the people will have 2 weeks where that will be open. After 2 weeks, we'll close it. We send those applications to the council for review. And then there will be a selection process, including a little mini job interview type setting here at the council meeting on August
Just like when
12th.
Kevin
And
came on,
at
or when
the end
Dave
of-
came on.
At the end of the night on August 12th, Mayor Cox will be done, and Mayor whoever's
And
gonna
I-
take his
and I-
place
I-
will.
I said that tentative, it's just a matter of when that person gets sworn in.
Right.
And, you know, if they don't want to get sworn in until the morning, that's okay too. But I intended on that person gets sworn in that night, I go home.
Okay, we'll bring our,
That's.
have
how
Danya
we
bring
use
her
this thing,
certificate.
Will. See what question you get.
there you go. Oh, and part of the application we are sending out is a list of questions that we want each candidate to consider when they put their name in. So that will give the council
To
some more.
consider, they will submit answers.
Yeah, we want them to submit answers with the application.
Okay.
And then the interview questions we'll do here at the council meeting will be different than those
Okay.
ones. But we wanted to give a chance for people to think about what they want to do and why they want to run for office. And so, yeah, that'll be part of the process for submitting your name for the position.
Okay.
Okay, quick question. What happens if nobody
Puts in.
wants to do it?
Who will second that motion for
It's
Kurt?
nose goes. No, I don't know. If nobody puts their name in, we'll have to start calling people and asking them really nicely if they want to get yelled at all the time.
Lot of applicants, people are upset.
Yeah, I know.
Good sign to not have.
Very true.
Yeah.
Which just as
Frank's gonna apply.
just and just as we close, I would say, I believe, well, I know that the mayor ran unopposed this last fall, so that would be an indicator. Thank you, Mayor.
But
And I'll move that or did you make the
No.
motion?
Yeah, so Stephanie-
I seconded that Kurt would be the.
Well,
Well, I was
Stephanie-
talking about the real one.
Yeah,
Not- not-
Councilmember Allred made a motion. I think it was an official motion
To approve.
to approve the drawing of straws as our game of lots.
I'll second it.
Okay. we
Okay,
got
so-
motion to approve resolution 2026-16, defining a game of chance in the event of a tie. And a second from David. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with nay? Motion carried 5-0. We're at the point for discussion items. Kurt, do you have anything you want to bring up?
No, just hats off to everybody on this last weekend. Lots of good comments. People love it. So
Yes.
you guys do a great job.
Stephanie. Yeah. Thank you, Stephanie.
I got some suggestions from one, but I'll do that another time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would
Sure.
just like to report that the couple who was the grand marshal absolutely loved their ride, and they got to see people from the city they haven't seen in a long time, and
That's
got
good.
a lot of yell outs. And even though we had to use a skid loader to load my dad up, he made the trip and got in there and got out safe.
Oh, good, good deal. Lee's a great guy, so that was good.
So thank you.
Tiffany,
We had a brief meeting with homeownership for you, and they want to have a workshop with the council. They'll be sending out some information to kind of explain their business model.
I think I already sent it
Oh,
out.
you guys, yeah, that's true. You did send
Is
it
that the
out.
letter that?
Yeah, so
Yep.
did you guys see it?
Yeah.
So we can talk about it outside of this if you have
Is
questions.
that meeting we went to down at the realtor?
It is the same guy.
Okay.
And he's looking at can I say that it's,
We had a meeting to talk about one of the projects happening along Wolfpack Way. They're
they-
looking at potentially buying up some of the units and doing a home ownership
Making
project
a
there,
home.
but it's all kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
and if we will participate or not. So if you guys have questions about that,
Is our part like on impact
yes.
fees or something?
That's
Yeah,
actually-
they're asking for city participation at some level, either waiving of fees or delaying of fees. There's a couple things they're proposing. But we can probably get into the details if you want to have a work session with them.
Okay.
So that's happening. And then our, I don't know, our front porch group will be meeting August 13th, and we're having, we're calling it plant pounding and potluck. So it's going to be
What?
plant pounding and potluck. So we're celebrating summer. It's an art.
Oh,
It's an art. You pound plants into fabric and it dyes the fabric. It's like an art
Cool.
project. Yeah. Come learn something new and have a potluck and get to know your neighbors. So we hope to see you all there.
and you pound the plants into fabric, are they wearing the fabric
Where?
when you pound them?
Yeah, you're not wearing it when it's
Neck-
being
No,
pounded.
no.
Pounded.
We're not wearing it.
August one,
August 13th, the second Thursday.
is that in the
Uh,
afternoon?
It's from 10 to noon.
So it's the morning after we choose a new mayor.
'Cause
It
I
is. It would be the next morning.
think there's a police commission that night
There
too.
is
Yes.
commission meeting. Are we all invited to that
I
I got an email about it, but I didn't know if we were all invited.
haven't,
The naked-
I just saw it and I'm like,
They're celebrating the mayor prior to the police commission meeting.
if you got the invite, then you're invited, I
Okay,
guess. So
I don't know, never been.
Stephanie,
Yes, just thank you to you
thank you.
for,
Awesome.
I had a lot of help this year and I appreciate it so much. Everybody did their jobs and it just lightened the load. I so appreciate it.
Yes.
I'm trying to enjoy this year's city celebration. I know some things that went wrong and I've been focusing on those, so I'm gonna try to be happy though.
Well, I'll say that usually we get one or two, not necessarily complaints, but comments about how it could be improved.
Oh,
I had none this year. So
wow.
great work.
People really loved it, stuff
Yeah.
like the setup. You did a great
The
job.
car show was great.
Yeah. people
Yeah,
loved
it-
it.
Yeah, that was.
The car
Landon
show,
did
Landon
really
did a
well.
great job with that. I think Lori with the parade,
Mhm.
everything, all the music, being able to sit back, it was a good deal.
It's a good day. Thank you.
Good thing.
Held out for us. It was
I know.
quite nice on Saturday evening. I mean, it was Scott's yours.
Yeah, you ordered the clouds, the
Yeah, Not
overcast,
the mugginess, but
But,
not the
well,
humidity, but.
one or the other. Dave,
Yes, Marcus and I met, had a Zoom call with the Slow the Flow.
Will the flow, there's a folder in box, please look at it.
Yeah, it's got most of what's in there are the handouts they provided us. I actually made some handouts and did a little sandwich board. I
I
went
saw you
around part
walking
of,
around and
talked with quite a few people. Only one person basically said, well, there's all the water in the world out there and I'm going to use it. But everybody else was pretty good about it. It was just a good way to interact with people. People were generally positive. In fact, there were two meetings this week, and one of them had to do with how we could apply some of those principles on city property, and really had to do with the 9/11 day of service. And the conversation centered around it. I don't know that we've talked
Want me to talk about
that
it?
yet, but if you want to take it, Marcus, from here, but
Yeah, so Slow the Flow is looking to potentially do a project in partnership with the city to have somewhere in the community where we could do a water-wise landscaping project. So what we're looking at right now is doing all the park strips around the city building, looking at transforming it from turf grass into xeriscape, but xeriscape that's pretty to look at and people enjoy being around it, not just rocks. I did look at a couple preliminary designs today from them, have some feedback I sent back, trying to get some things tweaked. And they want to put out a little RFP to see if they can get some contractors who would want to participate. And essentially what we would look at is having a contractor come out and do the hard work of, maybe tearing out the turf grass and installing some of the rock and the landscape fabric. But what they would really like to do is get the community involved in coming out and planting the plants and learning about drip irrigation and finding out how xeriscape can work and be functional and not be intimidating or ugly. So that's TBD. Right now, the date they're looking at is Saturday, September 19th. That's the day they're targeting right now to come out and do a service project. I guess there's the week of service now. It's a week of service, and that's the week of service this year. So,
okay, thank you. In fact, Gary Anderson, who is kind of the area just serve guy, reached out to me, and we're gonna have some more conversations, but I told him we're kind of thinking about this, and one of the comments is that yeah, this year, past years, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has taken the lead on the projects, and this year they're looking for communities and municipalities, other organizations to do that. And a lot of the other municipalities are using the website Just Serve to find day of service opportunities, and Hyde Park has a big fat, we don't have any from the city on there. I had some last year when we were doing those monthly, Saturday service projects, and got very little response, but I just throw that out and that's less than 2 months away. So there's some work to be done, but if you can think of some things, whether, whatever it is, it could be in addition maybe to this flip the strip effort that we
Yeah,
could do.
Maybe we could put a link or whatever in the newsletter to Just Serve if we get some things out
And-
there.
And especially if there's some Hyde Park.
Yeah.
That's what, I mean, before we put the link, let's come up with some
Yeah.
service projects in town. There's probably a half a dozen of them that we could put on there. And I'm happy to kind of work that and lead that. I'm going to be interacting with him. So if you have ideas, send them my way and I'll put them on Just Serve.
So Mayor Peterson from North Logan reached out to all the mayors. She is the head of the Mayors Association. And I think there's somebody at the county that is coordinating service projects. And they wanted to know what was going on in the city. And I reached out to what I knew on the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They had done it before and they responded that they're not doing it. So that's kind of in line with what you're saying. But if we have an activity, then it needs to flow down from us, not from the church. So
And in fact, one of them that came up when we had the old timers gathering here around the monument, Larry Winborg,
yeah,
who was
yeah.
a visit. One of the things he mentioned was, if this thing were cleaned up out here, it would look like it ought to look. And so that would be the first thing I could put on there is just, hey, we're looking for any group that would come and,
Yeah.
What if
clean.
we focused it around the city office building? Because you could do the monument, the strip, the community garden.
There's,
there's a
various
whole
things,
bunch
so.
of-
Love of people
Yeah.
here investing in things that we're trying to promote as the city. I
Yeah.
don't know, just an idea.
Planning that monument, you wanna make sure you do it right.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Larry said he would come down and supervise it, make sure we have the right materials, and I'm gonna make
Yeah.
sure that he knows you called him an old timer.
Is there any landscaping that needs to
Hey,
be done
you know,
around our
that's what
new
it is.
building?
Sorry,
No.
what was that, girl?
Any landscaping that needs to be done around our new building?
Not right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's all pretty
a
set
lot
for
of
now.
lot of walkway.
We do need help with the community garden, though. I have to have that like
Dirt
to a certain
in.
point by September. So-
I heard there's lots of dirt down at Legacy Park.
Yeah, we've got a lot of topsoil. All right, let's get that done. And anything else?
No,
Dave?
that's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Marcus, have you got anything? I said I would ask a question. Council, you received an email from me tonight, as did Marcus and Mikhail. I have not received, the intent of doing the DRC was, the intent with the city is to try and get things ready to go to planning commission so that everything is in order. It would help expedite the process so that it's not just going through spinning wheels at planning commission. I have not had a single person that has developed or will develop in Hyde Park that says, gosh, I am sure glad that DRC meets behind the closed door and it speeds it up. I recognize that the policy was changed. Did the city council help vote on that policy? I would recommend that policy be changed back, have it be open, so that developers are not waiting. They can get it firsthand from the meeting They shouldn't be waiting for an email. It's not working the way that we want it to work, or it should be working, at least from those that are using that process. We may, as a city, may think it's functioning right, but those that have to use it will tell you a very different story.
Well, now, would they be invited to the meeting?
Yeah.
To just listen,
Listen.
or can they speak also? Because I feel like if they come, maybe it's something like this where they just listen. Because if they're going to speak, then it's gonna take DRC a lot longer.
Or speak if they're called upon, like whoever's conducting DRC. Cause I think it's like the same as us. We should listen to the planning commission meeting so we're informed and we can make better decisions and we can move forward with the things that need to happen. And I think the developers experience the same thing. If they have an ear to the conversation, they don't necessarily have to have a voice at the table. But if they can listen to what was discussed, might help them execute better the expectations or the corrections that need to be
Like
made.
them to meet the standards before they submit paperwork, because a lot of what I hear in the DRC is, look at all these red lines that they still haven't answered over and over and over again, and we're tired of holding their stinking hands.
Yeah, but they're gonna wait another week to get that email back.
And they're gonna.
But they
read it.
they shouldn't, because they already know that they haven't met the requirements, but they still expect, yeah, I hear what you're saying, Mayor.
absolutely
but-
agree with you on that. They should
No,
have a
just-
complete package,
When I
absolutely.
attend DRC, I think it was helpful to have the developers there. And I know it's not popular with the staff, but I've got a complaint from, I have also been approached by several that are like, why can't we be there? Why can't we hear the discussion?
So two things. You'll see this in the response that we already sent to the mayor.
I did not send that to anybody.
Well, that's okay. So this response that we sent back as staff, number one, a lot of the complainers that are coming forward that we are hearing about that are upset that it's taking a long time, they want to cite state code about how there's deadlines that we have to meet for review processes. That only applies for residential single-family developments that meet all the requirements and are trying to go through the process faster. Most of the developments we're looking at right now don't meet those requirements, and they're very complicated, and we're doing our best to do it as fast as we can. And so I understand they're upset, and I understand that they want it to be different, but we're doing what's required by state code and by city code. Point number two, we have opened up the first DRC of the month for public attendance again. So just like we used to do, we used to hold one DRC a month and that was it. And it was open for public attendance. So now we do the one DRC a month, open for public attendance, but we still do the other DRCs every week because that has been a good thing to get red lines drawn up and produced and sent back faster. So sure, any developer could show up the first Tuesday of the month at 9 o'clock and they can sit and listen to the discussion. We are,
Be on the agenda though.
no,
That's
it's,
the problem.
You want or DRC back to you as soon as possible, or do you want to be on the first meeting?
So if they get to choose,
Yep.
then they know that I feel like that kind of helps because they can say, I want to be in the meeting. I want you to discuss it that first week. Right?
yeah.
Or I'm just gonna let it flow through the process. And if I have questions, I'm gonna come back and ask you my questions.
And a lot of times the old DRC, they'd come and show up and present something and we'd say, okay, come back next month and we'll keep you moving. So I get people aren't happy and they want it to go faster, but we are doing our best to make it function
Think
better.
The complaints I've heard haven't been about, I want them to speed it up. I think they've just been like, I want to hear the discussion.
Yeah.
It's not about,
That's-
I want to hurry this through the process. It's, I want to hear the discussion.
Okay.
That's the ones that
And-
have, yeah, and if needed, be able to respond appropriately. Maybe not in the meeting, but maybe, schedule an appointment to come meet with you and say, hey,
Yeah,
how do I
and
resolve this?
we understand that. So we've opened it back up. And previously we were letting people come by invitation when we had things we needed to discuss with them. But typically when Mikkel first started and we were trying the hybrid option, every time people came to DRC, it was because they wanted to fight with us about something. And so in order to help the other applications move through, we decided it was best to go to a closed door option. So yeah, we're going back to the hybrid option now.
meeting where they're only allowed to comment if.
And
you have
that's how we
questions.
try to, but you'd be surprised. They just don't stop. They just keep going. So yeah, we'll try to run it a little more orderly, and we've left it as an option for people to say, yeah, I would like that option.
It's like, if you don't follow the rules or not.
Well, and then they just turn around and call the mayor. So I
This-
don't know.
I'm
We're
gonna tell
doing
you,
our best to
every
accommodate people.
developer-
We're doing our
Every
best.
developer that has built in the city or is building in the city, with the exception of person that had a tiff in the office this week, every other has called me and expressed this concern. So and I actually took exception when some said they're doing a development in Logan and it's significantly easier to do it in Logan than Hyde Park, and that is really setting that. That's never been the case.
Mayor, can I ask, did they,
What's that?
Well, and Logan has a full planning staff with techs. They've got 4 staff planners.
I was gonna
They
say,
have 3 people in their attorney's office.
because if like they have positive feedback that we can
Getting,
internalize and say.
getting
"That-
information back.
It's just the return of information.
And that's my final request in that email response that you'll see is if you're getting specific comments, if people are just grumpy, I'm sorry, I can't fix your attitude.
So
If people have specific feedback on how the process can be approved, please have them come talk to me because we've changed a lot. We're open to changing more, but I can't do much if all I hear is people are grumpy.
we're opening this one up. So I will tell you, this problem's not going away for the city. They don't contact yourself and Mikkel. They're concerned about retribution.
And that's okay.
That's a them thing, but I'm gonna tell you, that's what they're concerned about. And
And that's the old Hyde Park. Maybe years
No.
ago, there was some person in charge who decided they were going to put people on the back burner because they were upset with them. It's illegal for us to do that. We literally, by state code, we cannot put someone on the back burner just because they came in and yelled at us. There was a gentleman in here yesterday who screamed at Mikkel for 5 minutes and was looming over her desk and throwing things at her
Yeah,
desk.
he's
And
not
guess
gonna let
what?
that.
He's still in the queue where we left him.
But I can give you 7 or 8 other names that have the same concern that have spoke to me, and it's not going away for the city.
Well, and all they
So-
need to do is come talk to us and we can show them where they are in line and say, we're moving you along at the speed that we have available to you. So
And-
yeah, I understand the frustrations, I understand the grumpiness, but if there's specific things we can do to help people, we're all ears. Just send them our way.
Sounds like you're giving them an option, though. I like that you've opened a meeting up and they have the option to where they want their project to be reviewed, and I don't know, it's a step in the right direction,
Yeah.
right?
We
Right,
are,
right, Peace.
we're trying really hard to go from a tiny town where we used to hold everyone's hand and give them as much time as they wanted to work on their project to a place where we're trying to be streamlined and efficient, but still check all the boxes. And it's a rough transition for the developers. It's been a hard transition for our own people. And so we just ask for, just come talk to us. Come tell us what's wrong.
Chime in one.
Sure.
Before I came to Hyde Park, applications would go to DRC and get red lines, and then they would immediately go to Planning Commission and City Council, who would have to approve them with conditions, right? Your subdivision is approved with the condition that you meet all your red lines.
Yep.
There were many applications like that.
Well,
These are the developments that are now having the most trouble because they never got their red lines fixed and they went ahead and put in infrastructure, or they went ahead and sold lots. And the conditional approval was the problem. Right now, or when I started, you come to DRC and you have to resolve your red lines before you graduate from DRC. You have to get your engineering red lines done at DRC before you ever come to a meeting. That way Planning Commission isn't hearing a partial application or an application that still needs work. All the work, the real work is being done at DRC, and then you folks in Planning Commission are getting a complete and final picture package. This is the final answer. Do we approve it? Yes or no? So the reason for the delay is that we are holding these developers accountable for their plans and making them resolve their red lines before it leaves DRC. When in the past, as you guys know, you would get partial plans and plans that still had many corrections or that couldn't be corrected and are still to this day on the board because they could never resolve their red lines. So we're taking the mistakes and the undones and the lingering red lines out of the equation, and that's what's causing these developers heartburn. They want to get through DRC Planning Commission, get their conditional approval, and start moving dirt. And that process has led to problems now that Public Works is cleaning up, engineering's cleaning up, the city attorney is cleaning up, and that Marcus and I are cleaning up all the time. So the process is difficult for them to get behind right now because it slows them down. But the conditional approval is coming back on all of us that participated in those conditional approvals. So that's where the problem is we're not letting them leave DRC without their red lines taken care of, as is standard process in all the rest of the world.
The relearning sounds like it's painful for them.
Yeah.
It is. They're not used to being slowed down and having to get their red lines and all their mistakes from red to green before they come to a planning commission.
And I'll just throw out there, half of the people that have complained to me haven't developed in Hyde Park under our own process, old process.
Mm.
These are new people. So I agree that we went from something that ran loose, and now that enforcing everything, it's a 180 switch. There's big rocks and little rocks,
Yep.
which are the big rocks that are the absolutely important things that they need to have happen. Not every fight is worth going to the hill and dying over, to me.
Yeah.
And that's why this is the last time you'll hear this.
So final.
It's a problem that's not gonna go away.
Yeah, so final thought, actually, the DRC last week, I had to sit down with everybody and said, we're not doing what we wanted to do. And so at DRC next week, we told everybody, bring your checklists. By state code, we all have to have checklists of things that we're checking for, things we want the developments to do. And so we're going to get down to that exact thing. I challenged every member of the DRC to come and tell me, what are the hills you're going to die on? Because we need to start figuring out what's really important to us as a city and what things we can let go of. Because if there's things we can let go of, let's incorporate them right now into the new standards that Mikkel and Kyle are writing, and not wait until we've approved a code and then have to go back and change it all.
The
So
other way.
we are working on
The other way a DRC can work is we have our land use authority and they send it out and to people, review it and come back, and then it's done just with the land use authority. DRC is not a absolute requirement by state code. Land use review is, but how we're conducting DRC, it can look different.
Mhm.
So, and it should only look with one engineer. And I will send that email tomorrow and tear that bandage off. That's all. So anyway, council, you've got the email that I had so many. I spent Saturday evening wanting to enjoy music just before the fireworks. And somebody called me at 9:15 and bent my ear for 30 minutes telling me the woes. And
I would worry more about that than if they were gonna put them on the back burner. Like, if you're gonna cross the mirror on a Saturday night when you should have free time, like,
yeah, that's
I don't know, maybe that's not a good idea.
We're not the dogs you.
free time is that 5 minutes we just had to go in to use the restroom.
Mayor, if we want any applicants to fill your,
I need to shut up.
you may not want to continue that train of thought. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right, I'd take a motion to dismiss.
I move that we dismiss.
I'll second it.
Got a motion from Dave, a second from Tiffany, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you.